Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital and welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is the weekly video games podcast where we give our impressions of the video games that you can play today, react to the latest news from the wonderful world of video games, and sometimes we spoil the shit out of games, which is what we're here to do today. We are here usually every Monday on your favourite podcast app and YouTube free. That will continue to happen, but this is a special bonus edition of IGC where we're going to spoil The Last of Us 2. I have assembled the original spoiler kings themselves, so if you were worried about not getting spoiled enough, I think we may have gone overboard with this one, but I've got the Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz champion and the reigning Dimp Digital Fantasy Gaming League Grand Prix winner. It's Tom Adkins and not Adcock and Marc SmithBiff. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Yeah, Spiff saved it there.
I went early.
He was going to hold out for that.
Yeah, Mr. Adkins, how are you?
I'm very well. Very well.
Good. Good. Are you both excited to be unleashed talking about The Last of Us Part 2? Because it felt like for a long time that we couldn't even breathe the word Ellie or Joel in any group. We're going to fucking get our heads ripped off by Biff.
It did.
I didn't want it to be ruined.
No, we can get into that actually, because I think that's an interesting dilemma that's kind of become more and more apparent in more recent years. Before we start the show formally, as usual, you can find us on any podcast app and YouTube free, but if you want to commit and give us a little bit of money, patreon.com/idle game chat is the way to do that. And you would have been listening to this episode earlier, so this is early access for those that are on the Patreon. So if you're listening to it through the normal feed, it could be a week old, could be 2 weeks old. Chances are it's probably only a couple of days old because I probably pulled the trigger too early. But Patreon will get you our bonus episodes a little bit earlier than everybody else. As I said, The Last of Us Part 2. Who's that opening a beer?
I heard that as well.
Is that you, Adkins?
Yeah.
What you got there?
I have got a Budweiser.
Budweiser, that's fine. I've got a
Premier League champion.
Look at that beautiful piece of business. A Brewdog Double Punk IPA, 8.2%. Third one of the evening.
Oh, Steam Central.
Yeah, it's starting to take its toll actually a little bit. I kind of wanted to wind back just quickly to the original.
He ain't drinking tonight.
Well, got to get on it, haven't you? So
Are you drinking, Biff?
Yeah, I got a bottle of Bud.
Oh,
well, you didn't open it on air, did you, you prat?
Sorry, I didn't.
Can you open it now? Have you got another one you can do?
Go and get a full one now and open it.
Open it up.
No.
Go on. We'll take a sip.
Now, this has already gone tits up.
Take a sip at least so we can hear it.
There we go.
Ridiculous. I want to take a step back and just go back to The Last of Us, the original, I guess we're going to call it, or OG, and just speak about Joel a little bit and wonder whether things have changed since the inception of this game. Biff, The Last of Us is perhaps your favourite video game of all time. You've played it through seemingly nearly 24 times, perhaps more, multiple times on grounded difficulty. In hindsight, did you think that Joel made the right decision at the end of The Last of Us? And then has that opinion changed over time as you've replayed it, or has your opinion pretty much stayed the same either way, yes or no?
Basically, he made the wrong decision.
What?
Yeah, he definitely made the wrong decision. And my opinion that hasn't changed.
So that's been day one. So you've played it from 2013. You played that and went, "You're a cunt, Joel."
Yeah. Yeah. He made the wrong decision, but I'm sitting here saying he's made the wrong decision. I haven't lost a daughter like Joel. So this is, why he made the decision. It's the backstory to why he makes the final decision in the very end of the game, isn't it? That's the whole point.
Yeah. I find that fascinating because you being a father now, I thought you'd definitely say, nope, you can't just sacrifice a potential kid of yours for a chance. And bearing in mind, we don't know if the Fireflies would have got that vaccine done. It could have been garbage, like the surgeon who, ends up being Abby's dad, spoiler alert, could have been a right bumbler, fucked it up, and they'd have got nothing out of it. The more time's gone on, the more I think he's made the right decision there in my eyes.
Yeah.
I haven't even got a fucking kid.
I can't remember. I was watching something recently, and they were talking about these sort of sub-militia type groups. Whenever they find some form of new technology or vaccine or something, the first thing that any human does is weaponize it.
Right.
Whether that be social media, chemical wars, warfare and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So there was someone arguing, saying if the Fireflies would have got hold of that vaccine, for certain they would have weaponised that and used it against everyone in the world.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of a grey area of them, because I remember at the very beginning, when you're in the quarantine zone, the quarantine zones are a shithole anyway. They're very, obviously, militarian run, but I think they bomb a checkpoint early on, or at least you're made to believe it's perhaps the Fireflies. So they're definitely a resistance group in that sense.
Tommy was one. Was Joel one?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. Biff, can you remember finding out? Well, you've played it this year. I don't think Joel was.
No, I don't think Joel was, no. Because they went to go and look for Tommy. Who was a Firefly, because then he'd know where their base was.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, I'm hard on Joel made the right decision for one reason, that I said the vaccine may not have worked, so you've just sacrificed your daughter for nothing, potentially. And secondly, also, I always wonder, especially nowadays, there's a lot of people spend a lot of time on social media. There's always, and rightly so, there are movements that come along that people are asked to support and whatnot. And to be honest, half the time I'm just thinking, I'm trying to get through my own life here. What am I got to do here for the greater good? I've got bills to pay here. I want to keep my own safe. I'm chucking little poor Ellie under the bus. I know she was a foul-mouthed little shit, but no need to be doing that. Anyway, I just wanted to get your opinions on that and wonder whether did yours change at all, Adkins, over time?
Yeah,
has it always been?
It did a little bit. I loved that fucking ending. I thought it was so awesome. It was just so good. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would have made the same decision as him if I was in that situation. And then this game cemented that decision, and it's locked in now. That I still think. Even to that scene, I don't know, really, we'll probably discuss it later.
Well, but you can mention it for sure.
Yeah, he sort of talks about that decision and says, if he had a second chance, he'd do that all over again. Yeah. And that cemented it for me, and I thought, he did make that. He loves her.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, and on jump ahead just slightly, he, in doing that, in saving Ellie, think about what she's just gone through in the Last of Us Part 2. He could have saved her all that heartache if he just left her on the table. So did he make the right decision? Now everyone's questioning it. Maybe Biff's right. But Last of Us Part 2, Biff, you stayed away from pretty much every trailer that was out there in terms of marketing. Did you watch anything from years ago, or there was a gameplay demo perhaps 2 years ago or a year ago at E3? Is there anything that you consumed during the lead up to this game? I know in the coming months, in the weeks up to it, you was like, nope, not interested, go away. But before then, did you have any idea or see anything?
So I turned one on. I watched about 3 minutes, and they mentioned that there was dogs, and I thought I don't know anymore.
Boycott.
I just turned it off. So I'd seen there was a trailer, a movie quality trailer that come out a few months before. I watched that, and she's playing guitar in that, or he's playing guitar. And then I saw that 2 minute footage of dogs, and that's all I watched. That's the only 2 bits of information I'd seen.
So that was the announcement trailer, wasn't it? That first one where she had the guitar.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think that's when we all said, it looks like Joel's dead.
Yeah. I just completely wrote that off after that.
Yeah, but so you probably didn't get spoiled then at all during your playthrough before, Biff?
No.
You stayed completely pure. What about you, Adkins? Did you get spoiled en route? Because I know that It makes me thankful that this IGC is just in the darkness somewhere with no audience, because Greg Miller was saying people just screenshotted him like Joel's gravestone, like when the links come out and stuff. And I was like, oh fuck, how can you even avoid that if you're like got a public figure? But did you get anything? I remember you mentioned one thing that may well have blown it, but anything else crop up?
I managed to. Until the day it came out, I managed to avoid everything. I watched everything, which
I did as well.
By the end, I was like, "Why have I watched all this? I just want this fucking game now." But yeah, I did watch all gameplay trailers and discussions on it, and all the trailers and stuff. But yeah, I didn't. I managed, like, obviously when them leaks came out, I was super skeptical and didn't use Twitter as much, or certainly not read any YouTube comments.
No,
I managed to miss any the story spoilers.
What about the Pornhub comments? I've heard you frequent them quite often. Is someone getting caught out?
Someone did get caught out. I think that it must have said like, I don't know what it said, but a big huge
Joel killed by a butch lesbian, it probably said, which was incorrect. But
in a porn comment, yeah. Unbelievable. But no, for me, on day one, I'm subscribed to a YouTube channel that do movie games. Movies.
Name and shame.
Yeah, Player's Little Playground, I think it's called.
Gamer's Little Playground.
Gamer's Little Playground, that's it. I thought, I like their little films. If I can't be fucked, like I watched fucking Resident Evil 7 with them the other week. I've ruined it.
Wow.
But instead of doing the full game, on the fucking release day, they release one little video that says, Joel explains to Ellie about the lie or something. Joel reveals truth to Ellie. I was like, for fuck's sake, now I know that's coming.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So other than that was on day one.
Yeah.
I went in clean other than that.
Interesting. Yeah, I was fortunate. I watched everything. But then I was YouTube recommendations. I didn't see any thumbnails. I didn't see anything. I thought I saw something like midway through the weekend, like the first weekend of it, but it was referenced in the first game. I found out, so I was like, "That's okay. That's clear, that one." But I was okay. So this go on.
Oh, I was gonna say my mate Dan Clark.
Yeah.
He saw the
race.
Master Race.
He saw them all. The leaks.
He see all the leaks, but he also got a red herring. Got told Ellie and Joel die.
Right.
So like, cool.
Has he played it?
He has played it to completion, and was so glad that only half of that was true.
Oh, still not ideal, is it? I suppose the only saving grace is that Joel dies early. Like, if that had been stretched out to the very end, that would have been a sickener to find that out.
I think that's what a lot of people thought, didn't they? Especially even seeing those cutscenes. They were like, right, well, this is going to happen at the end of the game.
Yeah.
It's a big finale.
So going back to like the trailers, and this one applied to you, Biff, because you didn't watch any of it, but I don't know if you're aware, during like the lead up and in the marketing, what they did was they released a few gameplay demos, maybe a couple in the end, and one of them is the part where you are hunting for Jesse. Sorry, no, you're hunting for Tommy. I think a bomb goes off somewhere in Seattle. It might be day 2.
Isn't that Hillcrest, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's called Hillcrest. And then you get to a point and then someone grabs you from behind and it's Jesse. And that's when you find out Jesse's standing there and he's actually out there with you. And you're searching for Tommy. In the gameplay demo / trailer or whatever marketing they put out, that was Joel. So in that moment, they put Joel's character model there and recorded the dialogue, and it was a deliberate, I guess, smoke and mirrors jobby to make you think that Joel is at least midway point alive through the game. Yeah. So I thought that was, I mean, it's cheap. It's not clever. Yeah. I haven't researched it correctly, but I'm thinking of Metal Gear Solid 2 when you end up playing as Raiden. That was a big secret.
Yeah.
But I think...
I was trying to think if there's no other game I can think of has done this where they've marketed the game and changed it to hide a spoiler.
Yeah.
But I do remember I think it must have been, was it Endgame or Infinity?
Yeah, Infinity War it was.
With 4, you get his eye removed, didn't he, in one of them? And they...
what's that? AI fuck, what's he called?
Who's that?
That robot fella that's like half AI and they pick the stone out of his head. But it doesn't happen in the film.
Yes.
What's his bloody
Vision?
Name? Vision, yeah. That doesn't happen, does it?
No, that's right. Yeah, so it was one of them where they put it in the trailers.
Yes.
But then in the final product, it's not in there.
No.
But in games, I think that's the first time I've ever noticed this.
Yeah. I think with Metal Gear Solid 2, everything was true. They didn't swap anything out. They just were very careful of what they selected and how they put it together. But yeah, this is I feel like it's the first time that something's been deliberately put out there that's not in the game.
Oh, self-advertising. Get the fucking...
Well, no, that's what I was going to ask you. Some people, I think it's cheap because they've changed it. They haven't been clever about it. But to me, it made that moment when, and we'll get to Joel's death at some point, when Joel dying, much more impactful because I was not expecting it. I was still expecting Tommy to save him or try and save him and get put down, and that's the revenge story that we're all running after. We knew there was going to be some sort of vengeance, but I wanted to ask you what you thought about them deliberately sort of misleading people in order to sort of save that narrative moment for people. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Adkins, you prat.
Oh,
you're the one that's seen it, you cunt.
I was thinking Biff's been quiet. I think it made the scene in the final scene more impactful for certain. Because there's a bit in there where I think she blows his knee out, didn't she?
Oh yeah.
The shotgun, and then I was like, no, this can't be happening. And then she says,
no, because I've seen him in the crest. I know he's getting.
That was in my head. And then when she says tourniquet his knee, and I thought, oh, thank fuck for that. Yeah. And then she gets the fucking 9-wood out and goes, have some of this, you bastard. So that made it a lot more impactful, as I just wasn't expecting him to do it, and so early in the game, Can't remember how early. Was it an hour or two? Was it Biff?
A couple, 3 hours, I reckon. I mean, yeah. But it is early, which I think was a good thing, because it got it out of the way with. You haven't got to be worrying about that once it was done.
Because I thought it was Dina that gets it. That's certainly what the trailers were making it out to be. When you saw
they put a bracelet on,
that was it. Where she goes missing in that storm. Yeah, they linked that in the trailer to then they moved it. They showed Ellie's reaction. You didn't see who was dying.
No,
and everyone, that's Dina. She's going to cop it, and then that's the game of her
chasing after
vengeance for Dina, but. Alas,
it wasn't. So, Biff, you've heard all that. You've heard the strings they've pulled to try and pull the wool over me and Adkins' eyes, who consume pretty much everything about any game we're going to play. Any comment on that? Have you got either way? Are you bothered or not? I mean, you don't watch trailers. It seems boring.
I think it is a good idea, and it covers their arse basically. Because if you think about the flack they've got for Joel's death. If everybody knew Joel died within the first 3 hours of the game, would that have impacted sales? Because if you look how many people are crying about it, saying shit game, terrible game, da-da-da-da-da, they might not have bought it. So they might have done it just to cover their asses, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, I think it is cheap, but for me it made that moment stronger. But the one thing I would say is, for Naughty Dog, you kind of only have that card to burn once. Next game, whatever it is, you try and pull that shit again. Now people won't trust them anyway. So they're in that weird situation where whatever they release next and however they decide to market it, people are going to be like, well, that's bollocks. They swapped the character model out. It's going to be nonsense. So it'd be interesting to see how it affects the next game in terms of the build-up and stuff, and how whether they do even bother addressing that. But some people have called it for false advertising and all sort. And I was like, it's not false advertising. They've done the dirty on you, agreed. But it's helped you.
They've never said, Last of Us 2, play this to experience Joel's.
Yeah, it's always been Ellie's game.
That's it, yeah. And
games now.
As of June the 19th, when it came out, it managed to sell 4 million copies in the first 3 days.
Yeah, I saw that. And I've just seen literally hours ago that The Last of Us Part 2 outsells the entire UK top 10 combined in June. So it has done some rocket numbers despite the hatred it's been getting.
And the leaks.
Yes, and the leaks, which won't have helped. Is this your most hyped game ever, Biff? Is this have you been more anxious to play a game than The Last of Us Part 2? Because you wouldn't have been doing that for The Last of Us Part 1 because we didn't know what was getting in for. This has all the hype of the game of the decade, Dimp Digital's official game of the decade, and then this is the sequel and perhaps the swan song to the generation. Is there anything that gets any bigger for you than this game since you've been sort of playing it?
No, I reckon this was the most excited I've been for a game.
Cool, GTA 5.
I remember being GTA 5 when that came out. I remember being excited about that.
Red Dead 2?
Not as much. I don't know why.
Sloppy from them. Rockstar blow it.
But I remember being excited about GTA 5, but it's just because you know you're in for a really good game, and you know that it's a big world and there's certain things you can do. But with this, it's like it was more. I don't know. It's like a film, isn't it? You think what is going to happen?
Yeah,
that's what you're bothered about. What is going to happen with these characters? It was pretty obvious someone was going to die. They were going to throw something horrible in there, weren't they? It's not a series that doesn't pull punches, so something was going to happen. But it was like, well, what's going to happen? So yeah, this is the most excited I've been for a game, definitely.
And I hope you don't mind me divulging this information, but you sent me a message saying you were kind of like getting a little bit uptight about finding out about stuff, and it was almost make it difficult to enjoy the game. Like it had been built up that much that you didn't want to talk about it. You didn't want to go on the internet in case you read something. Like, what did you do? Did you just shut yourself away from any phone or messages, or did you eventually? 4 years. 4 years. He's kept himself locked up. It's the new Logan.
So to be honest, it was, it just played on my mind a lot because I was thinking I don't want it to get ruined. But you want to sort of enjoy it, and it does suck the fun out of it because you're sort of constantly looking over your shoulder, constantly worried someone's going to say something, even if they didn't mean it, and it does sort of hamper the game. But it doesn't hamper the game, but it hampers the experience slightly. But it's just one of those things. It's the times we live in. 20 years ago, this wouldn't have been a problem, but it is now because there's so many weirdos about that want to put comments on stuff like Adkins has seen.
Yeah,
they just get a kick out of doing something like that, don't they?
Yeah, it's not right, but yeah, it's interesting because I tried to play it down a lot. Like I downloaded it, didn't I, at midnight digital, and then went to as it unlocked, done a countdown video for you guys, and then switched it off and went to bed. I didn't even play it. I didn't want to make it out to be a big thing, and I think that helped me just sort of settle down a little bit and not get in that headspace. But it's about you, Adkins. Because you're in a group of people that you say is infamous for spoiling stuff.
Oh yeah.
Were you like sitting there concerned when they're playing at midnight? You've got work the next day, so you probably can't play it till in the evening. You've got to put kids to bed. Fucking hell. That sounds like hell almost.
That group, like what you say,
name the cunts.
Get a kick out of naming, out of spoiling things. Matthew Pasola and Daniel Cahill. They are definitely two people that get a kick out of spoiling things for everyone.
If you see them add you on Facebook, stay away from them, gamers. They'll try and spoil it for you.
And it's even like sometimes they don't even know they're spoiling things. They put like a meme in or something, and that's one thing.
Joel in one meme. You're like, what's that meme?
Yeah. Well, I got one. There was one of Ellie being choked. And I thought that was the end of the game.
It's horrible because even if it doesn't, it just plays in your mind, and you start running away with your own narrative and think, "Oh fucking hell!"
Yeah, so I saw that early on. That was probably like in the first week of playing it. So I assumed that was the ending because I think even up until the last sort of half hour, I was in my mind that she was going to die.
Right.
Especially at the end where she's going on about how much her side hurts. I was like, oh, well, she's just going to bleed out. So yeah, really, and I think if I would have found out that Joel died, even though I didn't know when, like knowing it's coming, that definitely would have fucked me off so much, and probably it just gives you that sour taste, doesn't it? And you're like,
it is a sick.
But Joel's at an all-time hype for this, and just was very weary of the spoilers, having spoiler merchants for friends.
Fucking Callum. One thing I wanted to talk about was that it's something that's kind of came up in various circles online and been mentioned in various groups as well, and it's around the representation of like transgender people, lesbian/gay people, things like that. It's something that Biff wanted to talk about. It seemed he wanted it on the list, and we all come from a little village in Essex, outside of Southend on fucking Sea. I'm white collar worker. Biff's blue collar worker. Sorry, Adkins is blue collar worker. Biff's a train cunt, and we're all white heterosexual males in our 30s. We're in our 30s now.
Well, you say that. I've dabbled in the sexual. No.
Well, But there's been a lot of there's two sides of like the camps. One is that people are glad that there was like a transgender character in there, that we saw a lot of like Dina and Ellie's relationship, them being lesbian. In the first game, we had Bill, who turned out to be gay or maybe bisexual, maybe had female partners before. And there's another camp that's saying, oh, you're trying to force a social justice warrior narrative or politically correct narrative down my throat. I don't want it. I want to resist. Without hanging yourself with a rope and saying something grossly offensive, which I know Biff's definitely capable of. We'll start with him. What's your feeling on this side? Did you find that, and honestly, did you find that it got in the way of anything, or was you quite receptive to what they were trying to do with, let's say, Lev, for example, Biff?
Do you know what? I thought it's one of the best things I've seen in regards to one of these sort of politically correct narratives, because it was just sort of there. It wasn't rammed down your throat. It just seemed so natural. Do you know what I mean? It just seemed like normal people getting on with their lives in a messed up situation. But Ellie's a lesbian. Yeah. You know, Dina's bisexual. You know.
Yeah, she is.
And it just
both.
It just seemed really natural. I remember watching the Avengers film, and there's like a scene where one of the women is struggling, and then she's like, oh, I don't know what to do, and then 5 women jump over and she's not on her own, and it's like, all right, girl power, I get it. It's just like a slap at the end,
heavy-handed.
Yeah, but this is just, do you know what I mean? Ellie's not trying to be a feminist, I don't think, but she's,
if she is, I don't want to go near those feminists. They're fucking violent.
Burn your bra.
She's just, she's absolutely brutal, but it's done really naturally. It's not sort of smacking you in the face or obvious. It's just, I don't know. I just think it's really well done.
Yeah, I'm in that camp. Like, I feel like, especially with like Lev, like there's a certain point when Abby is trying to like ask her why they call her Lily. Or him's Lily, sorry. So I'm going to get told off for that now, because but Lev says, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, and he says no, and she kind of leaves it there. They don't like keep forcing down your throat. And later on, like he opens up about what it is. But there were people even that got annoyed that the Scars or the Seraphites, whatever you want to call them, had dead named Lev by calling her Lily, and I was like, yeah, but that's just a representation of like them being bigots. Like you have to show that in game. It's not saying that's right. That's showing that, yes, there's people out there that will do that because they don't understand. They're not open-minded enough to accept it. I mean, you can't just block those people out.
No, yeah.
It doesn't work like that. Adkins, what are you going to hang yourself on the PC bandwagon?
I thought it was absolutely disgusting to have these people include. No, I'm in the same camp as you. It's just I'm uneducated in the sort of that realm of life. So my difficulty with it, understanding it, was I was like, right, so how is he in set in this world? I can't imagine there's many doctors around there knocking up transsexual what's it called, procedures and stuff. So I thought, has he just shaved his head and gone, right, I'm a man now? So I was just a bit sort of like, ill-educated, I suppose, as to how he was represented. But no, again, I think they do a great job of doing it. I don't like, as much as it now has like a sort of following from the LGBTQ plus community, is it? That's it.
Are you reading this?
Yes, I've got it written down. They seem to have attached themselves to this game because it's a good representation for it. I don't want it to just become like a sort of checklist. So like now they have like a transsexual, maybe in the next game they have a pansexual or whatever one of these new sexualities that are about. So
that's one beer down.
Sure. So I think they deal with it, and like you say, it's not compared to like the kiss at the end of the last Star Wars film. That just felt they were doing that to tick a box. It was like, we've got to have some sort of representation here. Let's just stick this scene in for them. And it's never felt like that with The Last of Us. But I just hope, like, if they want to add that, and it's fine. But I just don't want them to make it look like a tick box. So they feel like they have to fill a quota, which it never has before. So they shouldn't really.
As well, with Lev, I thought, when I was playing it, I just thought it was a girl with a shaved head. I didn't think that Lev doesn't strike me as a boy's name. So when I saw them, and they were together. I just thought there's one girl and another girl, but the girl shaved her head because she's part of this religious cult.
So you took it as read that she got kicked out and vilified for shaving her head.
Well, no, I didn't know why they got kicked out, and then you sort of find out why they had got kicked out, and it was because of that. But you don't find that out straight away. You find that out a little bit later, but you don't know why they got kicked out. It's only as the game progresses that you find out why they got kicked out. It's because obviously the way she is. Sorry, fucking hell. That's
the weight crinin, yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard to get it out.
So I just thought she was a girl called Lev that had just had a shaved head. That's all. And then it's only, I was like, oh, right, okay, that's quite cool.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, I went through the game thinking that Abby was transgender, just based on her looks. Because it was not my own fault, like, from seeing it, but there was a lot of safety.
Oh no, there was lots of, actually, one like I mentioned earlier is the joke. Like, one of the leaks was that Abby was transgender, or people would put it togetger.
And I saw that there was transgender representation in the game. So seeing her physique, I did think, so this is the transgender character. Later, obviously revealing that she's not, and she's just absolute built like a brick shit house.
Yeah.
So Lev didn't cross my mind at first. I didn't, until his story.
I was the opposite to Biff. Lev was a little boy, like how young. I couldn't. That's the one thing I couldn't quite work out. Because they were saying that he got kicked out because in the scars that he was a female. He was going to be used as a wife for someone. And I was like, how old is this kid? Like, he looked like 10 to me. And I thought, what sort of fucking religion is this? Where they're trying to marry off 10-year-old girls as they thought he was. But I was in like the other boat where I thought it was a little boy. And it is a little boy, and then when they said Lily, like just in that random encounter you have, like they're talking, they shout Lily. I was like, right, I see what's happened now. He shaved his head because he doesn't want to have long hair. He doesn't want to be associated with being a woman, and he's a man now, or a boy, I should say. But I can't work out the ages, so I had a bit of.
I know Abby's supposed to be the same age as Ellie, which she
looks much older, isn't she?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
not having that.
So Drucker said he claimed she's the same.
If he can send over their birth certificates, I'll believe him.
Yeah.
Until I can see that, I don't know if I can take him seriously.
Well, how old's Ellie at the end of 13? 14?
Yeah, I think she's 19. This one they keep saying.
Yeah, it's 4 years ahead, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a bit madness. Now, there's been a bit of a polarising reaction from fans. Critically, it's been really well received, other than like the few sort of... You always get one or two like high-profile sites that go, crap, or whatever, just for whatever reason. But fan-wise, it's been a lot of loud negativity around this, and obviously positive stuff as well, but more so the negativity seems to have drowned out a lot of the positivity online. But if you even ended up reading some comments online today, which I know is not you at all, but what do you think about the reaction from some of the people who don't like the game and have got a real problem with whatever it is, whether it's the representation of LGBT plus people, whether it's Joel dying, whether it's this has ruined the franchise? What's your opinion on that? And it'll probably lead us into your overall thoughts of the game, I guess.
I mean, I just think people have got too much time on their hands. You come at the end of that and you go, does that game make me think? Did I enjoy it? Am I still thinking about that once I put the controller down and turned it off?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. So that's a huge success. If you're going online to talk about it, whether it be to complain, I mean, it's not as if the game's, it's different if the game was fucking unplayable.
Yeah.
And you went online, you're complaining because you don't think the story panned out the way you want the story to pan out.
Yeah.
That's what the fuck. They can't make a game for every fucking individual. You must understand that.
No, that's where you're wrong. Because I've got 49,000 people here that want the fucking story rewritten. Petition going up.
I mean, They're never. That's never going to happen, is it? They're not going to rewrite the story.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect did, yeah, they did, to be honest. But that's a bit of craziness. I'm in your boat. I mean, it is madness that people would get to that stage, and that I kind of understand it. Like, everyone loves Joel, and that seems to be the point: is that Joel's killed off, and they're like, he didn't get a good death. I heard people saying, and I was like,
disrespecting him, man.
What? You don't own him. Well, ain't your fucking dad. He ain't anyone's dad. He's a fictional character that Neil Druckmann made up in his fucking head, and then he said, actually, I'll tell you what, I know this character better than anyone else, and I want to kill him, and I love him more than anyone else, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a fucking golf club through his skull.
When they talk about like a good death, it makes me feel like they want something like a Marcus Phoenix Gears of War going down, a blaze of gun and glory.
Driving his truck back through.
That's the thing. He was never a hero in the first place.
No, he's a fucking arsehole. Do you know what I mean?
Come on, don't speak
One of
ill
the
of the
worst.
dead. Come on, mate.
This is a dead man you're talking about, Biff.
But I don't agree with what he done in the first game, but I love the ending. It was amazing, but he isn't a good bloke. He's an anti-hero. He's not. There's no way you can look at his character and think he's one of the good guys, because he's not. And that's what the whole game does. It sort of, I said it to you, Abs, it blurs the line where you think, am I a good guy or am I a bad guy here? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I'm doing the right thing, but when you look at it from somebody else's shoes, you think, I'm not. I'm the arsehole here. And Joel is an arsehole. I mean, how many women has he killed? How many blokes has he killed? I mean, it was, he was a hunter in the first game, wasn't he? So
where's that DLC of him fucking pillaging people? That's what I want to see. That'll change people's tune, won't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Druckmann should do. When this petition gets to 50k, he goes, here you go, here's what Joel's really like. Him and Tommy, gang rape. Bit strong.
Really soil his reputation. Brilliant.
Adkins, what about you? I mean, you've seen you live more in the online world like I do. You've seen all sorts. Is there any ground for people to stand on?
No, I think they're all fucking idiots. No, I think Drucker said it well himself. The leaks really did damage it for them. It'd be interesting to see what it would have been like without the leaks. But I think a lot of people do that. They find out what happens and that they've killed off their main character, and they quote unquote dig their heels in the sand, and that's it. That once they've killed it off, they're not interested in finding out the reason why. Yeah. Like, we looked into the percentages, didn't we? It's like 30% of the people that have played this game, sold 4 million copies. And only 30%. You do the math.
It's a landslide. It's not. It's the opposite of a landslide. The board got it wrong for once.
So, and that's what people do. They just go, right, no, that's it. I'm not true. I don't care what you're going to do. I don't care what sort of message you're trying to convey. You've not done what I expected from a sequel of The Last of Us.
What's that about 30%? What did 30% people do?
Complete the game.
Got that trophy, Biff, that Adkins decided to post the day before it was all finishing up.
To now, which I realised was a fucking huge spoiler, and I didn't realise when I'd done that. But yeah, so I think that people just are not interested by what. And I think that's the beauty of this game. Like, I think that the commitment to making this much of a statement of going, right, here's your fucking beloved character. We're going to give you a story that shocks us. The story we wanted to write, even if it does upset. Like, they knew going into this that this was going to divide this. Yep. They knew people weren't going to be happy. They could have easily done just another story of Ellie. And you get glimpses of that in the story with like some of the scenes that are just Ellie and Joel, and that's probably what the game could have been. They could have played it safe and gone
inside the box. It could have been, and we'd all loved it. Would have gone, that's a great game. But would it have really left its mark? Like, I feel like it's leaving its mark on, especially me. Like, and even Biff's he hasn't got much of a brain. He's thinking about it, for fuck's sake. So
I think this is a similar situation to, I don't know if you two watched it, but the series Lost.
Certainly Poitier.
I fucking loved that series.
Right,
TV series. But a lot of people hated it because of the way they sort of ended the series on a weird sort of, did seem out of context. But it was one of those series that, for like the next year, people were talking about it on message boards and whatnot. And it did, like you say, it was just so thought-provoking that I see that as a success, but no, a lot of people think it's fucking load of shit because they've not panned out the way they wanted, and now they're trying to sign petitions.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, by the time this airs, it'll get to whatever 50,000 is. I made up a lie and told Adkins that if it gets to 50,000, Druckers has agreed to have a sit down with them, which is nonsense. That's never. I made that up, but I don't know what it's going to achieve. 50,000 out of at least 4 million. Not really.
Oh, it's on 49,576.
Yeah, I might add mine on there just to see what happens at 50. Absolutely fuck all. But yeah, I'm in total agreement with all. I mean, it's a difficult one. We know someone called Alex Menzies who's actually been on our previous podcast. He's playing through it. He's got to the point where you switch to Abby and he's kind of like shut down a little bit and turned it off because he's not over Joel yet. But he hasn't got he hasn't got the perspective of what actually leads up to that. So all I said to him was, he was like, "How did you feel playing that?" And I said, "I was intrigued." I was like, I knew I had to have an open mind at that point, and I was fortunate enough that I didn't get too wound up with Joel getting his head caved in with a fucking golf club, that I was not receptive to what was going on around me, and I feel like that enhanced my experience a little bit. One last flashback to the original. I watched the Last of Us definitive playthrough, which is on Retro Replay, which is Troy Baker and Nolan North playing through the first game, and they're playing with cast members of the game. So you get Tommy in there, you get Nadine, you get Ellie obviously, and Joel is played by Troy Baker, so he's on every episode. And Nolan North is it David, that weird fucker that tries to that eats people? He's on there as well. They're both piss poor at playing the game, but it's entertaining. and I haven't replayed the game yet, but just watching the game back through and going through the lens of like those guys that are involved in actually making it, like Druckers turns up on the last episode. I feel like it enhances the first game. Like it made, especially the moments between Joel and Ellie, to me a lot more powerful. And even though I was just watching it, I was a bit like, getting a little bit like choked up here. And I did not experience that at all when I played it. I've played it 3-4 times now. And I didn't really experience that at all playing through it. But having now like knowing where it kind of ends for Joel and how their relationship builds upon in the months and years after the first one, I feel like it's added a lot more to the original game. And in my top 6 games of the decade, I'm thinking of retconning that and putting it in somehow, taking something else out. But thinking back to the first one, do you feel like this makes the original enhance it, make it worse, or not really affect it as its own? It is technically its own story.
Yeah, I suppose it does. It does enhance it because you know what the final chapter is, didn't you, for Joel? So he's
golf club in the head.
Exactly. And you also know that when he goes to collect Ellie and he walks in and shoots the first Doctor, he's setting off the domino effect that will basically end his life. So, and
it makes you shoot that Doctor. You have to kill him.
I was thinking that.
You have to kill him. You can't. You can shoot him in the leg, but he'll still die. Like you have to kill it. And I remember people complaining, saying, "I don't want to kill the Doctor. I want to just go in and take her." But it makes you do that, and I think that's. They didn't have this in mind really when they were doing the second one or beforehand, but I think that's that kind of helps drive home the point that Abby is connected to that, because you have to kill that person, whereas in theory, like if it was just a random guard, you could get round the whole thing without killing someone. There's very few characters you actually have to kill in the game.
So there's quite a few sort of like morality decisions in that game that you don't need, that are not forced upon you, like that beginning bit where you're walking through that building and you're in the spores, and that bloke's like, kill me, and it's your decision. You can either leave him to rot or put a bullet in his head.
What did you do every time?
Shot him.
You shot him?
I don't think I've ever left him.
Yeah.
You play Grounded, you need every fucking bullet. I left him.
So Biff, what happens when you leave him? Do you remember?
Nothing.
Tess shoots him.
Oh,
he dies anyway,
I didn't remember that.
No. So that's clever. He dies anyway, that poor cunt. Well, he's going to die anyway, so he's probably done him a bit of a favour. Let's move into the game itself. We start off like a little prologue chapter in Jackson, which is Tommy's community. I mean, fuck me, that's a thriving community for the end of the world, I think. I'd love to live there.
Yeah.
They've got all sorts going on.
Imagine clearing it out. Must have took fucking ages.
Yeah.
Must have started off with like 4 buildings and then expand.
I mean, again, inside baseball, in my garden, it's the back of it has like a little stone border. Yeah. Since we've got this little dog, he keeps trying to grab the stones. He thinks it's hilarious to get the stones and run off of them, and I'm like, don't, because if you swallow them, vets, money, death. Even I'm trying to save the poor cunt, and I've been trying to dig out the stones for the last 3 days. It's taken me ages. I haven't even got anywhere near close to it. So let alone building a community from scratch. with little or no resources and infected running around. I think Tommy's done a stellar job there.
Yeah.
If I'm being totally honest. Biff, what's your thoughts of this prologue piece? Because actually, and this is something I kept forgetting until I just made sure I took a note, is that you actually play as Abby during this opening bit as well. And at the time, I kind of just brushed it off as being a little bit insignificant. I wasn't prepared for the huge impact that doing that would have, and nor did I expect that I'd be going back to that character. What did you think of the whole Jackson setup and the time you spend with... Perhaps you spend a little bit of time with Joel and Tommy actually to start with, but Ellie and Dina setting up their relationship, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really clever because if you're new to the game, it's teaching you the fundamentals of the game and the basic controls, but it's also building the story up.
Do you think it does enough, though? Do you think it does enough to sell the relationship between Joel and Ellie? Because you kind of don't find out a lot. If you've never played the first one, and if you haven't, you're a nut job. But if you haven't, you don't find out a lot of that stuff until the flashbacks start happening, kind of in Seattle.
No, I agree. You don't sort of see what their relationship means to each other until the end.
Yeah.
But even if you played the first one, you then don't know that they've had a big argument.
No.
And they're not getting on, and they've not been speaking for a long time. And it only just the night before started talking to him and started to say, do you know what I mean? I want to start again. I want to, I can't forgive you, but I want to try. I think that's what she said, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you don't find that again anyway, even if you have played the first one. So I know what you mean, but I don't
give a fuck. If you haven't played the first one, you'll jump into the second one. You're an idiot.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm saying that. And I know the sales of the first one gone right up as well, so people are trying to catch up or going back to it even, and they'll be real choked up when they go through that.
PS Plus.
Go on, Adkins, what was that?
Freebie on the PS Plus.
Yeah, grab that.
I'm still playing it.
Yeah, you should do. It's a good game. Adkins, what did you make of Jackson, Tommy?
Yeah.
All this stuff. Did you win the snowball fight? I'm assuming no one failed that.
Yeah, it seemed very tutorial for new people, and it did seem it was set for that. There wasn't much for us. It was quite interesting.
A little bit like the rope climbing and throwing the rope. There's a little tutorial, if I remember, with Dina in that little bar or something where you learn to throw the rope up and you can use it to get up things.
Really?
Yeah, and you could obviously go prone and stuff, which wasn't in the
Yeah, that was interesting. And it was quite... what I really liked was seeing original cutscenes in the new engine. That was quite interesting.
Oh, yeah, of course. They showed they showed a little bit of flashbacks to the original game, which were...
Yeah.
I don't know if they were pulled from the original game or if they just reshot them, but they looked bloody nice.
Yeah, I did enjoy that time in Jackson. I heard that was going to be the first open world. They was going to have that as the open area.
Yeah.
Which would have been fucking huge. But yeah, it felt like it was more for newcomers to sort of try and catch up. There wasn't much learning. Interesting though that now after finishing it and that and seeing these little Easter eggs and stuff, that's 2 games in a row. The first character you play as dies.
Wow. Yeah. Father like daughter. Fucking blowers to the end, weren't they, those Millers? Jesus Christ. Yeah. What a waste of flesh. They do all that.
So they can't do that again in the third game.
They can, they will, and there'll be a smoke and mirrors trailer that we're all going to have to decipher. Yeah. They'll be using the same tactics. What did you, Biff, when you first took control of Abby, did you have any inkling as to what was going on, who she was hunting for, obviously we didn't know who she was, but it was clear that in that dialogue with Owen they were looking for someone. What did you immediately think, I don't like the sound of this slapper and then I'm being forced to play her, or was you a bit like, no, I'll just see where this goes?
I had no idea. I didn't know who they were looking for. It didn't even click that it might be Tommy or Joel.
No, it didn't with me either.
Big click that this
thick brats.
Yeah, exactly.
For me.
Dina, you thought?
Yeah, because they woke up, obviously this probably didn't happen with Biff because he didn't see the trailers, but that's the first thing is they wake up in that building, didn't they, in the lodge, where I knew that the death would happen, but in my head that whole time I was like, well, this is going to be Dina, so they're looking for Dina.
Right. Yeah.
But
was you jarred at all, Biff, at just playing a random woman called Abby that we had no backstory to or clue about, or because I thought it's just going to be a character that's going to die and it's part of the tutorial and I will learn from that and it'll be like, oh, what a terrible thing, but obviously I was not prepared for the part she was going to play just an hour or so later.
No, I thought the same. I didn't know if she would die, but I thought this is going to link in with Ellie at some point. But no, I didn't think it would link in the way it did. But I didn't think, I'll end up playing with this bird again. That didn't occur to me at all during the game.
No.
I didn't think this, but your brain never forgets that.
No.
We've watched that the first, I think it must have been was it Game Awards or E3?
Paris Games Week.
Where they first revealed Abby. And
he don't forget, does he?
What's that?
Paris Games Week.
Oh, yeah, don't forget. But, yeah, they show that scene of her being hung by the Right.
Gorm Scars, I ain't doing that word.
Yeah.
I'm calling WLF Wolves from now on, and the Scars. I ain't doing the long-term ones. Sod it.
Right.
Prats.
Yeah. So,
come on, Druckers.
So I'm surprised your brain didn't go, that's that one from that trailer.
Didn't recognise the slapper, if I'm honest.
No.
I live fast and loose, lots of women. In out, shake it all about. Like, I won't remember Abby from that. It looked like just a scruffy woman. She looked jacked up. I'll tell you what would have given it away is if we saw her in a tank top immediately. I may have then gone, I recognise her from that trailer because I remember that woman being fucking ripped as fuck.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
There was rumours when that came out that was going to be Ellie's mum.
Yeah.
They didn't. They wouldn't reveal her name, and it was 4 letters, and was it Ellie's mum was called Anna? Yeah. So everyone thought it was Ellie's mum, but alas, it was the fucking one that killed her father.
Surrogate dad. Well, we've battened around this. We've said that Joel deserves to die, and yet we've spent a long time avoiding the subject of him getting his head fucking caved in. I'll go first. I was completely shell shocked when it happened. I was
took a breath.
It took the stuffing out of me, it did. I was not expecting it to happen then. I was not expecting it to happen in the way it did, the brutality of it. I was like, good God, this is like a mainstay character getting his fucking skull caved in with a club. And just hearing Ellie screaming it really does cut through me to this day. So for the next part of the game, I was like numb for like I should have just ended the session there and walked away, but I didn't. I played until I got like to Seattle, like the open bit basically, and then I stopped there. But for that whole period until I got to there, I was not in a mood for retaining information. I was just sort of completely and utterly shocked, and I'm pretty sure had I been streaming it, you'd have seen a loud, like, audible gasp as that club thundered into Joel's brain. So I was completely stunned by it. I'm not going to say I was angry. I was just like, whoa, now I know what this game's all about. Biff, you've called Joel a cunt. You said he deserved it pretty much. Were you sitting there sort of laughing, going, yeah, you reap what you sow, you old prick?
The thing is, like, I love Joel. Like, he's amazing. But he is an arsehole. You can't deny it. But I was gutted. But the first thing I thought of was, this is going to be a fucking amazing game.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought they've just
that
fucking
sets
got
the tone.
Yeah, exactly. We're 3 hours in, and the best bloke in the game's dead. You know, the bloke like he's fucking.
Well, Tommy's laying there. It's his older brother. Come on, he is he not? No,
yeah, I know
brother.
what you mean,
Sorry.
Tommy's, he's a poor man's Joel, isn't he?
No, I love Tommy. Tommy's the best brother. Always the younger brother. Thank you.
So. Yeah, and that's what my fault was. I was gutted, don't get me wrong. I remember actually shouting, fuck. I just went, fuck. But I just thought, this is going to be fucking amazing. Like, I had scenes in my head of, like, again, like you said, of Ellie and Joel wandering around pretty much the same as the other game. So, just clearing buildings and that sort of shit.
And then if he has to, it's like a sacrifice at the end where he saves Ellie from... And it's like, oh, what a hero. Oh, God, what a hero. No, he's just systematically leg blown off, beaten half to death, and then in front of Ellie, as she lays down squealing, a fucking golf club comes down his skull and ends him.
You see the fucking brain hanging off the end of it.
Yeah.
And it shows you as well, like, the sort of tone of the game, because, like you say, that it's not a hero's death. It's brutal. It's so gritty, isn't it? He's in a fucking cellar in the middle of nowhere, just getting his head caved in with a fucking golf club. It's crazy. And I was just like, wow, this is going to be epic.
Yeah. But Adkins, over to you. Some people have said that Joel was too trusting and Tommy were too trusting there. Do you subscribe to that, or do you say actually they've had four good years of safety, and actually if you watch it, Tommy's the one who sort of gives it away to start with, not Joel.
And if you look at their body language, the first thing they want to do is get them out of there. They want to go back to Jackson.
Yeah,
they're saying come back and get your ammo. So yeah, you can tell that they don't want to be in there. And yeah, people saying, they never would have got themselves into that situation. They're being fucking chased by a horde.
True.
That has never happened. Well, obviously that we've ever seen. Yeah. They've never been chased by a horde. It was either that or die. And yeah, they've been living in this fucking sanctuary. Like he's pretty much like a hero there, like one of their lead guys. Of course he's going to let his guard down after. Like, people change after 4 years of living that life.
Yeah. So,
they're fucking idiots, I think, the people that say it. That's the thing. They think they know the character because they become so beloved and, it affects you and makes you think of a part in your life that they get attached to these characters. But you start to think you know them better than the writers.
Yeah.
When you don't.
You don't. Yeah, one thing that that's Joel dies at that point, and then we see him later on in the game through flashbacks and whatnot, but we still know he's dead.
It made it so hard.
Yeah, the one thing and people are fuming that he's died or the way he's died, and I've watched a lot of even that definitive playthrough which was recorded before this game come out, but at this point they would have known that Joel was dying. Like Troy Baker, who plays Joel.
I thought that bit, and if you watch that ending where he talks about the morality choice of killing the doctors at the end, and he goes, I'll leave them, and he goes, no, I'll just kill one of them, and kills that one, and I think he knows that's the sort of canon story.
Yeah, well, you have to kill that one doctor.
I didn't know that.
You have to kill Abby's dad. I'm pretty 99% sure of that. Someone happy to correct me if they've got this far. They're idiots, but they can do that. Where was I going? Oh yeah, so people saying, it's disgraceful that Joel's dead, blah 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 blah. But I was like that. Like if you watch any of the behind the scenes stuff, if you watch any interviews that he's been doing lately or done before, you will know that Troy Baker loves Joel as a character. It's not part of him, but it's a huge part of his career professionally, and he takes a lot of his personal stuff in there to do some of the scenes that he did, and yet he feels that this was the complete right decision. He knows the character better than anyone because he's inside his fucking head half the time trying to reenact him. So just for someone to armchair sit there on their shitty little idle game chat podcast and say, it's disgraceful what they done to Joel, they shouldn't have done it. It's like, well, the people who created him and moulded him wanted to do that. They know him better than you, so on your fucking bike.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's crafts.
Even Druckers give Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie, they gave them creative decisions. They the reason that Joel plays guitar is because Troy does in real life.
Yeah. The reason Ellie, Bill's gay is because the actor Earl, I have to look it up. Earl something or other. He's in Deadwood. Great actor. He read the part out where he talks about a partner, where Bill talks about a partner, and then off outside of the recording part, he said to Druckers, he went, when he says partner, what does he mean? Does he mean man, woman, what? And he goes, what do you think? And at that point, the actor Earl decided that it was going to be another fella, basically. So even with a smaller part, Druckers does give his actors the freedom to sort of interpret things into the characters, and that is definitely the case with Joel and Ellie and all the characters. They can all put their own perspective on it, which I think is a sign of, especially in games, a good bit of direction. Yeah. Get some nice bits in it. Seattle Day One. Unless you got anything else on Joel's death or the aftermath. I know there's a great part afterwards where you go through Joel's house and see that he's been making guitars and stuff.
Really did humanise him more than any.
Well, Biff just called him a cunt, so you want to have it out of him, you can do.
But you never that's the thing. That's all you saw was his cunt side. You just saw him mauling people to death, fucking robbing and stealing. Whereas this, you saw going through his house, you saw that he was a normal person and had hobbies, and he was building guitars and making little wooden structures of animals and stuff. He's really into coffee
W.L. Brown is Bill.
W.L. Brown, never heard of him.
He's in Deadwood. It's great. Anyway. Yeah, go on. So he loves coffee and he drinks coffee.
Loves coffee. Yeah, and it just going through that, you see he had like music, there's like hidden comics in his house, and there's like a little, in his bedside table, there's like a book of like the Dummy's Guide to Space or something, because he knows Ellie's into it. There's little Easter eggs like that it really just sort of grounded the character and made you think that he's just a normal person when it all boils down.
Yeah. Biff, any last words on Joel before we fucking bury him?
No, I thought it was done well. Sad to see him go, but good to go.
That next day, I think me and Elbra went out with the kids, and like if you've got like an interview coming up, or I don't know, something like the dentist where you don't want to go, and you're sort of having a good time, and you sit there and you think, I've still got that's like weighing down on you. That's what happened the next day when I was out with my kids. I was like, this is a nice day. The sun is shining, but fuck it, he's dead.
That's really important, because the whole basis of like the first half, whatever percentage it is of the game, is Ellie's vengeance and a revenge mission to get Abby and make her pay for putting a golf club through a surrogate dad's fucking skull. So my question, and I think I've got Adkins' answer, so I'm going to revert to Biff for this one. When you start Seattle Day One and kick off this mission to go and get justice, were you 100% on board with what Ellie was doing and being like, yeah, this fucking slapper deserves it? Or was you a bit like, yeah, Joe was a cunt, so maybe he deserves to have his head fucking caved in brutally with a golf club?
No, 100% no.
You wanted blood as well?
I wanted to open Abby up.
Like Owen does.
I wanted blood. Definitely.
Yeah, and that just proves how that scene works so well.
Yep.
Because the emotions you feel, that it does just go from shock, horror, straight into anger and revenge.
Yeah. And in all honesty, that's enough to like challenge the player almost. Like to kill Joel is enough. And we'll get to the point where they really rank it up when they switch you over to Abby. But in most video games, they wouldn't even do the Joel scene. He wouldn't die like that. He would die. He either wouldn't die or he would die heroically. But already in this game, they've made him just leg blown off, head caved in, done. And yet they still have got plenty left in the tank, as we love, to ranch it up. The uncomfortableness, because at some point we're going to start playing as this person who wraps a fucking golf club around Joel's head, and at this point, whilst we set off in Seattle, we've got no idea that that's about to come. So we've got blood. We want blood, don't we? All three of us, I imagine. We're all setting off on that horse. We're listening to what Dean has got to say, but we're like, look, this slag needs to die. She needs to be put down. And Seattle Day One is interesting. The reason why I want to bring Seattle Day One up is because it's an open area, which we haven't had in The Last of Us before, and it's only been one game. And some of the environments have been reasonably open, but not to this scale, where there's actually like little side quests and weapons that you can find by going off the beaten path. Biff, how did you find Seattle Day One? Because I spent the majority of it doing the open world stuff and then sort of catching up on the more linear stuff. But how did you find the big open area where you can kind of go off and do what you want? Did you like it? Do you think it fits in the Last of Us games? Would you have just preferred it a little bit more linear in storytelling?
No, I liked it. I thought it was done really well.
Would you want the whole game like it?
See, this was the thing, because I thought the game was...
There's going to be more of them.
Yeah, I thought I would go from place to place, and I'd go Seattle Day One, and it might be like, I don't know, another town, a city in fucking Toronto Day Two. I know it's in Canada, but you know what I mean?
It's got across the border.
You know what I mean? It would be like different towns, and you'd go from town to town and have an open world bit and do it as and when. Because I know Naughty Dog done Drake's, didn't they? The Uncharted.
You call it Drake's one more time, Biff, and I'm going to fucking drive around there and I'm going to fucking put a fucking golf club around your head. It's fucking Uncharted, all right?
What was that DLC you lent me, Adkins, on it?
Lost Legacy.
Lost Legacy. That's
I'll answer for him. He's too slow. Next.
It's sort of done like that, where you have an open world and you drive from point to point. So I thought, they've stolen that from the Uncharted series.
I think that was a big inspiration from certainly Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
Just the way it was set out and stuff. A lot of the menus are the same as well.
The rope, the rope's taken from that, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I thought Ellie was going to have like a clip rope at some point.
Yeah, I did as well.
Yeah.
Like a grappling hook or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sort of glad she didn't, but for some reason I felt like, and it may have been something I saw before when I was talking about the rope bit, I thought, this would be something we're going to have with us that we can use quite a lot, but actually there's like a handful of instances where you use a rope and you can't actually put your own in. But so you liked the open area, but you're a little bit unsure whether it would have worked with the whole game being like that.
Yeah. So I did enjoy it, and I thought it was good, but I was a bit slightly concerned that it would go down that route. But obviously it didn't. It just worked well, and it was quite interesting. Different areas to explore, like you say, different things to find, and it was quite a cool little way to introduce you properly to the game, sort of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Adkins, the fact that we didn't get any more of this.
Yeah.
Was that the right decision, or would you have been like, actually, I could have done with like another area within? Well, or would you think it would have just made the story like drag? Because you can get lost in these parts.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, to be honest, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because a lot of the marketing was this new open world version. So much like yourself, I was both thinking there's going to be bigger areas in this. It was going to be more to come. But I am sort of glad it wasn't, because I do love the linear side of these games, and I think they do work well.
Yeah.
I do still have sort of a bit of issues with the length and pacing of the story.
Shit.
So it did have another big...
Neil, he said he's got problems with the pace of the story. I told you he's a cunt. Sorry, Adkins. Sorry, go on.
Chucker's turned out.
He's in the back. He's listening.
So it was good, but the whole time I was playing it, I was like, I'm going to miss something. I'm going to not find it on this map, because it wasn't... It was set out in like blocks of buildings.
Yeah.
But it was only... I think, did it circle it or cross it off once you'd watched that building? But there was also like buildings that had nothing written on it. So I was like, to it. So I was scared that I was going to miss some like crucial bit of story. Because... What do you need to do to get through? If you want to skip all of that shit and you just want to get through, do you have to go into the guitar shop first to get that scene, or is that optional? I
don't know, to be honest. I've not really played it enough. I mean, Biff
steamrolled it, didn't he?
Steamrolled it, but he's still got the guitar bit. Biff, Biff, you were trying to get the trophy because you didn't get it all the first time. I think you've got to go to the synagogue. I know that it's pretty much in there, and there's no fuel in that, is there?
Yeah, so you need to go to the synagogue to pick up the canister.
That's it.
And you have to go to the courthouse to pick up the petrol.
I think that's it.
The only two ones.
Those two.
Yeah, I believe. I'm not 100%, but I believe so.
I think
so. You could miss the bank, the the music store, coffee shop. There's quite a few bits there, isn't there?
The coffee shop is excellent because
that's where it adds weight to the first game.
Yeah. Because there's a talk in there where they talk about how they don't like coffee, Dina and Ellie, but Joel loves coffee, and that he will trade over the odds for it. And actually, it's something that I picked up on, like one of the very last scenes when they're on that porch and he's out there talking to her, and you kind of find out how the relationship actually ended before he got his head caved in. He's drinking a cup of coffee there, so he's fucking happy. I think he even mentions that he traded too much.
That's it. Yeah,
to get the coffee beans. But if you don't go to the coffee shop, you don't get that bit.
No, you don't get that though.
You don't get that little extra bit. And I remember I told Adcock about that afterwards, and he was like, that's a stinker.
There's even the first game where you go into a hotel and there's a coffee machine there, and if you don't push triangle and you go next to it, you don't hear him go, "Fuck, I miss coffee," or he says something like that. Yeah. But again, that's like an optional bit, so it's quite clever, isn't it, that the whole way through you might not actually find out he really likes coffee.
I love coffee as well. It's good stuff. Good opportunity to talk about some of the gameplay changes, because I feel like, particularly you, Biff, you're so familiar with the first one, playing through it on Grounded, and I mean, you played for it a couple of months ago, the first one. Yeah. It wasn't long ago. I mean, in my mind, it's really difficult to think of going back to the first one, because the mechanics feel not elementary, but certainly a lot more watered down. How different is 1 to 2, and is 2 like a significant step up in that front in terms of what you can do, and also like the design of like the levels and where you face enemies?
I feel like it's harder on 1. They've made it a bit easier now. With being able to lay prone. You don't have to have a shiv with Ellie. You can just knife her.
True.
Click straight away. But the actual, it's pretty similar, except it's just really, they've just polished it a lot more. You move a lot more fluidly. You're not clunking about, banging into shit. It was the first one's a bit clunky, but the aiming is very similar. The gun are very similar. The bow and arrows changed. Obviously, that had like a projectile of where the arrow would go on the first one. This one just has like a crosshair sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it has like a range finder on it as well. If you unlock that, which is really good.
Yeah.
Sort of, as you pull the arrow back, it shows you where the arrow will land, sort of thing, on them, which is quite good. But yeah, I don't think it's a million miles apart. It just feels like a lot more polished. And like they've sort of listened to what people thought about the first one, because it could be quite slow and clunky, and when you were kneeling, trying to catch up to something, it seemed to take forever, and you were at a big disadvantage. I don't feel like that's such a thing anymore. You feel a bit quicker, a bit smoother.
Yeah. I feel like it's a welcome addition. I actually think the changes are a little bit more pronounced than perhaps what you think, and it's mainly because the areas feel a lot bigger. So
they are.
So the options you have are a lot more wide, whereas there's certain areas in like the first one, and there are in 2, but there's certain areas that are quite small. Whereas a lot of the enemy arenas here are reasonably big, so you can kind of use that to your advantage where you can.
I found without sort of getting ahead of ourselves, but the new enemy, the Shamblers. Is it the Shamblers? They always kept them in quite close proximity. You're always in quite a tight, confined space, because they obviously explode this gas cloud, and you don't. If it's big and open, you just think, well, I'll just fucking walk away then, won't I? But they're always really tight, so it makes it a lot harder to kill them. So they have done it quite cleverly in certain aspects of it.
But one of the biggest changes I noticed was in the melee. Like, you've got a dodge now, and a counter and whatnot. Adkins, did you like that change, or did you? In some instances, especially against runners and against the infected, I found it a little bit juvenile, and not easy, but it felt a lot. I felt more comfortable with that setup. Whereas, I just mashed square previously with Joel and just hoped that he fucking caved someone's head in on a desk.
Yeah, I found that in the first game, you sort of, because you didn't have that option, the clickers were a real threat, and certainly some of the infected you'd definitely shoot yourself. In this, I think it's the complete opposite. I think anyone who's got a gun you're more wary of, because you can't. It's harder to dodge. The infected, they're quite easy to dispatch. Even clickers now, as long as you don't get right up in their grill, you can put them down. And certainly if you're on the right with your runner 1-on-1, there's only one outcome of that. You can dodge yourself out of that way. So I think it's a welcome change. It certainly made it more fluid, and the agility of Ellie compared. Obviously, she's younger and fitter than old goat Joel.
Dead man,
tries to stay from this grave. He ain't doing anything. So I think it was a welcome change, but it did sort of make certainly the infected that easier to dispatch. Although I was just playing on like a normal difficulty, so I don't know what it's like on the harder difficulties.
Yeah, so Biff, you've gone and you played it on hard initially, or whatever that is. I think it's called hard now, they changed the names, but one up from moderate, which is like AK normal. You've gone to New Game Plus Survivor. How are you finding? Because that's normally where the mechanics are really strained. Like, does it really work on the hardest difficulty? And how are you finding this second playthrough that you're doing? Because you're also skipping a lot of the cutscenes, so you're doing it from a pure gameplay perspective. So I'm imagining you're enjoying what they've presented here in 2.
Yeah. I'm skipping the gameplay cutscene. Sorry, and just doing the gameplay. It's exaggerated even more so with what Adkins said. Like in survivor mode, to get the infected is still about the same. It doesn't really feel that much more difficult, other than when you get grabbed, you are fucked because they take a lot more of your life away.
Yeah. But
the fucking humans, they can see that, you get that noise in Spotted. That is short. Basically, that's short down big time. And then they will often, even if it's like a second of that noise, they'll go, "What was that?" And then they'll go and investigate it. So you really, and their fucking accuracy is phenomenal.
Right.
Like, if they spot you and you hear that as if you've been spotted at the end of the noise
shot also.
Yeah, basically they will get a shot away and they will hit you pretty much. It is fucking hard. It really is hard. But yeah, it does exaggerate what Adkins said on survival mode, because the people are much harder to kill than the infected.
Yeah, I feel like the infected certainly took a bit of a back seat in the second one, and maybe that's just natural because in the first game we have no idea of what this game is, what the universe is, what the enemies are, and then you're introduced to the infected and you're like, fucking hell, these are horrible cunts. Whereas by the second game, if you've played through the first, you're familiar with them, so you're a bit like, yeah, they're there, but they're quite brainless. Like, I know I can throw a bottle out and 3 of them will run to the same spot, and I can throw a Molotov and then like take them down. So it may well have been a conscious decision to make them less of a threat, but I found the human enemies, particularly the scars, challenging at times. Like I'll tell you why it was. It's really simple change they made. With the wolves, they were chatting. They would say, I knew what they were saying. They were saying, "Oh, I can see something. I'm going to investigate." And I was like, "Oh shit, that's me." With the fucking scars, they went, like, "What are you saying? Are you saying you spotted me, or are you just whistling because you're fucking bored? What?" And then some cunt comes marching over with an axe. I'm like, "Shit, it's me!" And by then, I'd already kicked it off. And then I'll get a fucking bow and arrow in my side and have to yank that bastard out. But I enjoyed like the difference between the scars and the wolves. They were subtle, but it was just enough that I felt like I was actually fighting different enemies, even though they were both human. Whereas in the first game, you can fight hunters, guards. They all, in my view, felt the same.
And I think running away is a fucking great way to get out of it.
Oh yeah, I ran away loads.
At the time I found myself into bother, and I was like, right, fucking leg it.
Because the environments are big enough as well for you to run away and actually hide somewhere. Like there's levels as well. Like it's got some verticality to it as well as like big space.
Yeah.
Can I just say one of the tiny complaints I have about the game? When you're Ellie,
Neil, he's at it again. no, it's Biff this time.
When you meet the scars for the first,
all right.
Sorry.
Go on.
When you meet the scars for the first time as Ellie, you're in this sort of foresty park place.
It's horrible.
And I heard the whistle, and I was like, "There's somebody here. I can hear somebody here." And then I was crawling along, and you get to a ridge, and you have to go down the ridge, which makes her character stand up. And I got to the ridge, and I thought, someone's going to shoot me. I already knew it. Because I thought, I'm going to get hit here because I've got to go down this ridge, which is going to leave me open. And it bugged me that I don't know, like I'd I'd worked him out that there was somebody there, but I had to go through this tiny little rigmarole of being shot, and I was like, I know there's fucking somebody here, but that's like such a tiny thing. But it was such a cool scene that was as well.
Yeah, I had a similar sort of thing.
Spoiled for us though, wasn't it? Because we saw that, that was part of the gameplay preview.
Well, not for me.
Not for you. So
I'll be honest, I'd forgotten that, Adkins.
Oh, would you?
The main ones I remember was when Jesse turns up and says it's me. Yeah. And I remembered the whole hanging thing, but I didn't know it was Abby, so I didn't put 2 and 2 together. The other one was that barn scene, which I thought I knew what played out, but you only get to see like half of it.
It was the barn scene, and then it went into that Scars gameplay where she's running along, and you could do the bit in the shop where she.
I think they changed that though.
But they did change it, because he came out. The big fucker came out the door, and where she drags you under the bloke pulls you out from under the car. Did you ever have that during that playing? Yeah. Getting dragged from underneath a car. That was incredible.
Yeah. There's a bit on a rooftop. I said it on one of the other podcasts where I strangled someone and it was quite small, and I was like, the body's going to get found, so I'm going to hide. So I hid underneath like a container, knowing that someone would spot the body. Someone did. He was like, "Oh, Andrew, what's the..." Like, bent down, shot them in the head with the silencer, thought I'm the fucking daddy. Didn't realise some cunt was right behind me. They pulled me out and started laying into me, and they got an axe in the head. But the proneness did definitely add a certain bit. And what Biff was saying there, where the game kind of stitches you up because it needs to do a certain either like narrative or action point. I had that with Abby, where I was using the rifle to pick off a load of people. I used a bit of listen mode, picked off everyone. Everyone was dead, and then I slid down this mountain and then got captured, and that's where that scene kicks off, Adkins, from the trailer. And I had wiped out everyone that was in that area.
Oh, really?
I had already done that, and then this big fuck come from like a blind side, and I was like, wow, you've had me over there, boys and girls. So in Ellie's, the way the game's split up is that you got Seattle day 1 to 3 with Ellie, and then we switch to Abby, which we'll get into. But I would say from Ellie's side, like, it is a straight kind of revenge type mission. You're slowly working through Abby's mates, basically, because when Joel's killed, there are several of them present. They're sort of sent in a squad to go and avenge Abby, and for whatever reason. But the main things I feel like you get out of that day 1 to 3 with Ellie are the flashbacks with Joel, because we find out that eventually Joel crumbles and tells the truth, like after like a few times of trying. We get that great scene in the Dinosaur and Space Museum where where you're just wandering around, and you know, he's teaching her to swim, all that good stuff in there, and a few other. Go on.
That was almost like a sort of ode to what people wanted, like that sequence.
Maybe they should have started the game in chronological order, done all the flashbacks, then people would have been happy.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what I think the people were playing as Ellie, and they were like, then they got to that bit, and they're like, see, this is what it fucking should be. So that's where it adds to the anger. It just added so much weight to that whole scene, because you sort of had that in the back of your mind. You knew the outcome.
Yeah.
And it was just like a hint of sadness to playing through that bit. But I think that was the Last of Us 2's giraffe scene, that whole sequence.
But if you love the giraffe scene from the first one, do you agree with that?
Yeah, because that giraffe scene to me is like iconic, and I thought to myself, they've got to do something else that's iconic, and I think that was probably it. Although when you're Abby, there's a zebra.
There is, yes, there is.
And that to me was
Last of Us 3, taming a tiger.
You see the hoof.
The Tiger King.
You see the hoof print on the floor, and I was expecting it to be the giraffe. I don't know if you was, and then obviously it's a zebra. I thought that was a really cool little touch.
Yeah.
Anything else to say from Seattle day 1 to 3? Because as much as I enjoyed that, because I mean, it just feels like I'm in a totally different frame of mind having done the second half of the game. Like, not that the day 1 to 3 is elementary, because it's feeding that urge you have to hunt down someone who's killed Joel, and it services that so well. And then you get to the point where Abby just busts into the theatre, and then it cuts. But is there anything? I'm sure we've skimmed over some bits and pieces, but anything during 1 to 3 where you think that, particularly in Ellie's part, is that he was like, yeah, that's some good shit.
The set pieces for me were incredible, especially the one that after just seeing Jesse at Hillcrest, and you have that car chase with the clickers on the front of the car.
Yeah,
that incredible, like just the visual. I've not gone back and watched someone playing that.
Uncharted like.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. There's a few moments throughout this game where you're playing that. There was like a few car chases, isn't there? But yeah, that one was stand out for me. I'm trying to remember where day 1 ends. Can't really remember. The hospital when you go.
No, I don't. Yeah, I can't. I don't think hospital's day 2. I can't remember if you kill. Well, basically, you get captured, don't you? And then you get out of that situation.
Yeah, I think
it's Jordan or something. The fella that's there. He's got the scar down his face that Ellie cut.
One.
But yeah, Biff, anything from 1 to 3 that you want to call out, either narratively or any other gameplay bits?
No, I think we've covered it pretty well. Which
is mad, because that's half the game. Like, literally, I think I got to the 15-hour point at the end of day 3, and I was thinking, right, the game's... Well, no, I wasn't thinking that. So actually, we said we wasn't spoiled throughout the game, but I knew the game was 25 to 30 hours.
Yeah.
So when I saw I was closing on day 3, I was like, okay, this isn't the end. Like, I know something is going to go wrong here, and the rug's going to be pulled out of it, which actually works in its favour, because had I just played that through neutrally, not knowing the length, I'd have been a bit like, oh, fucking hell. I'm halfway through.
It's very Uncharted 4-esque, but I love that they sort of implemented puzzles into this game as well, but not your standard ones. So you had like your safes. You had to work out. You had to find the code, and you knew the code was within the vicinity of the safe. But it would be like someone's birthday that's on a wall, or a little note that you've read or something. That was quite good. And then they had like the features, because you didn't have a rope. There was like a lot of like cables that you had to work out how to put one through.
Yeah. There's loads of also, like, if you just looked up, there's loads of stuff that you could crawl through like a vent, for little rooms. That's which and it's because, I mean, previously, what did we have? The shiv rooms, was it, Biff? Like,
yeah.
And it felt like this time it is a little bit more like rewarding to look around and actually go, oh, I can get up that dustbin and get into there. And also they reduced the amount of fucking times you've got to pull a dustbin over and climb up it. Like most of the puzzles were definitely like more varied. There's
a bit I completely missed that I saw on someone playing it. There's a section where I think it's in that scene through the dinosaur and space place where Ellie's swimming, and there's a crate, and if you go up to it, it's said, like, Ellie says, "Oh, do you remember this? Give me a ride." And he's like, "Oh no, those days are long gone." I missed that on my playthrough.
Breakneck it, that's what you get.
Something I liked as well was the fact you could smash glass and windows.
Oh yeah, of course.
That because on the first one it always bugged me that
you go back and you go back and play that first one. There were loads of windows that you can't smash. Tons. Yeah.
But even like the vending machines, there was something in the vending machine. You smash the glass and get a bit of health. Yeah, I really liked that. I thought that was a good little addition.
Yeah, and also when you was like in a scramble, that was sometimes the last resort. Like to smash through a window, jump through it, and try and lose the scent of whatever. Quickly, the dogs.
Yeah.
Biff, how did you find dealing with the dogs? Were you happy just to Molotov the fuck out of them and get rid of them? Because they are actually a big pain in the arse. Because once they get you scent, you can. Well, one of the smart things to do would be to drop one of those little bombs that you get, those remote bombs. But it then creates a noise. But what's your pro strat for dealing with the dogs, Biff?
Just shoot the handler, and then the dog stops in its tracks, and then you shoot that after. But you have to make sure they're in long grass. That's how you get around that little.
You have to execute them.
Yeah, I did text you, didn't I? Because I know you don't like being horrible to animals, but I thought you'd be, because there was a scene where the dog jumped at me and I put I think it was like a machete or an axe, and I just went, God, poor dog. Like, I actually felt sorry for it.
The horrible thing is, how have they got that noise? The dog yelled.
Yeah.
They tread on his foot to make it record.
I don't know what they're doing.
It just added again. It just added weight as well. You just fucking, like, any infected or human, you don't feel no remorse for killing, but that, and especially with the new like little amazing details, which we'll go into deeper later, like that when you kill. I didn't do it myself because I did dispatch the dogs first before the owner. But if you kill the owner, and if you just sit there and watch, you can actually see the dog sort of like tapping him to see, trying to wake it up. I only saw that on a video. I didn't experience that, but that would fucking break my heart.
Biff, you're a horrible cunt. Just Molotov the pair of them. Don't kill one and let them suffer mentally. That's the way I'd do it. So we get to a point where we think we're trying to hunt down Abby. We end up killing a lot of the people. Ellie does some horrible shit. Some intentionally, like killing. What's the like Nora? Is it that where she sort of tortures her, infects her, and then finds out that
was quite good. You never actually saw that in the first game. It's like someone almost turning.
No,
I did always wonder how quick it would be.
She didn't like it. Those spores really fucking got involved with her. But she does some heinous shit, and then like Owen is killed, Mel is killed in self-defense, to be honest, to Ellie. But we find out Mel is pregnant, and it turns out that Ellie's going to go back to the theatre. Dina is there, Jesse's there at this point. He's rocked up and turned up. Dina is pregnant with Jesse's kid, which makes things a little bit awkward. But it feels like at that point, after the killing of Mel, that Ellie's kind of done with it. I think Tommy's there by that point, isn't he?
Yeah, he turns up at is it the killing? Must be the killing, yeah, because she starts having a bit of a mental breakdown after finding out that Mel was pregnant. That's it, and then Tommy comes, doesn't he, into the aquarium.
So at that point, you kind of they're suggesting that call it off, basically. Let's go back and we'll be done with it. Were either of you ready to be calling it off, or did you still want Joel's blood, Biff, to be reconciled, or was you like, I've just killed a pregnant bird, maybe I should pack it in for the evening and go to sleep?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shocker when you're like,
Didn't know, to be fair. And Mel come out with a knife, so I was a bit like, well, if you're up the duff, don't be doing that.
It was self-defence, I know, but it was a bit, you just think, fucking hell, at what cost is my revenge? And that's part of the game, isn't it? It's part of the story of what, how many people have got to die for you to be satisfied by it, and now you're killing, unborn children. It's crazy. But yeah, it was a bit strong, that scene, I must admit.
And then Abby rocks up, shoots Jesse brutally, like just quick kill. He's dead, and he's been like fairly endearing, I think, up until that point.
Yeah, real was, wasn't he?
And he's then put to bed. And
my opinion was like, how the fuck does she know where we are? I remember that, thinking, how she found us.
You know why, don't you? You know why she finds you?
That map.
Yeah, that map.
You don't know that at the time, though.
No, I understand that. But I thought we didn't know it now. I was like, is this cunt played it?
Yeah, no, I did that. But they leave the lights on. I noticed that. I think when Ellie goes back one time and the lights are fucking, I was like, cool, you're actually asking for it here. Yeah. But no, at the time I sort of thought, how the fuck does she know I'm here? Bastards.
Yeah, to be honest, at that point I was like, oh, this could be a climax, like fake ending of the game. Let's see who dies here, and then it just cuts back.
It's another ruse as well, because when you first see it, you don't know that Lev's in the room as well.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Of course, you don't even have a clue who Lev is. And Adkins still doesn't. He doesn't know what he is, if he's transgender, female, or what. He ain't got a clue. It's not his fault. Just ill education in these parts of Southend, I'm afraid. We ain't got the clinics in California. But we almost suddenly kind of switched to Abby at this point.
So you start off, and that's the zebra scene, right? Is that the first thing you do?
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if you remember where we go, whether it's straight into the zebra scene or it's a flashback, then into like the WLF camp.
I can't remember now. I'm not up to it on my second playthrough. I can't remember. It's either the zebra or it's the stadium, isn't it? You're either in one of the other.
I think it cuts to black, and then because she looks like she's about to shoot her, doesn't she? Puts the gun in her face, and then I'm pretty sure it cuts to black, and then it goes straight into that zebra scene, and you see her as a younger, I think is it 2 years or 4 years before, and you see her as a real little skinny run, and you see her motion captured face, and you're like, cool, and that's when it hits you. You're like, oh fuck, I'm about to play as the fucking arsehole.
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't really clock it until it come up on the screen and said Seattle Day 1, and I was like, oh, I've got to do 3 days of this. This is not just a simple flashback to a few hours, like a few years ago, and then like a quick one to catch us up. I'm gonna have to do another half of the game. Here
it sort of does it as well, because it does say Seattle, doesn't it? And then you expect it to say day 4.
Yeah, it says day 1. I'm like, huh?
And you're like, cool.
So one of the things that I quite like is that 10 minutes before that, when Abby busts into your little home, shoots Jesse, has Tommy on the floor, makes Ellie give up her gun, like, Biff, at this point you're probably thinking Abby is like some sort of badass that you don't want to mess with, and that she's a complete psychopath. At this point, you've got no idea, have you? As to what you might be jumping into.
No, yeah, exactly. You still think she's an evil, like you say, psychopath. Little side note there as well. Jesse died. He just fucking
he was,
didn't he?
Really good character he was.
Yeah, exactly.
He got Dean at the duff. Can't have that.
That is sloppy in that world.
Yeah.
Pull out, come on. I can teach you that. That was way before the pandemic.
Must be some Johnny's still knocking about, I suppose.
Yeah.
Get the carrier bag out.
Especially in Dina's case, like if she knows she's bisexual, perhaps don't do that. Just say, look, I don't want to get up the duff here. I'm not quite sure. Let's put a pin in it.
When she was being sick, I thought she might have been bit and was hiding it.
Oh, okay.
Like, cool.
You thought it was another Last of Us Part 1 job.
Yeah.
a little kid turns. It wasn't.
That's something that happens in the day one when she reveals to Dina.
She's immune, yeah, but she doesn't believe it. It's in Jackson, I think she says, isn't she?
Yeah, she says it's like a chemical burn, doesn't she?
She doesn't, but yeah.
Then she goes, "Oh no,
factory, isn't it?"
That's it. When it's smoking the marijuana.
Yeah, that just on Eddie's immunity, that really takes a back seat. Like it doesn't feel like a part of the story at all, and I don't know whether.
Nora talks about it, doesn't she? She sort of realises when she's breathing the spores and that she's like, it's you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still think a bit like there was some truth behind Joe. I think there must be someone else out there that's got it as well.
Well, this is one of the. I mean, at the very if we get to that stage, then talking about what the future is, I feel like that kind of needs to be addressed or could be addressed.
Yeah, that's it. It needs to be explained. Why is she immune?
Yeah, but anyway. We switched to Abby, beefcake, cut off sleeves, wandering around the WLF stadium, picks up Manny, meals with them. Like at this point, what are you guys? Biff? What are you thinking? Are you like because you're aware that you've just gone back to Seattle day one. So if you're in the same sort of fault as I was, you're like, hang on a minute, I'm going to have to replay half this game again from a different perspective. Was you receptive, or was you a bit like, she's a bloodthirsty slapper, I kind of need her not in my life anymore?
No, it made me think. I was intrigued. I was like, right, well, let's see like why she is a psychopath. When, again, like, why did Joel save Ellie and not create a cure for mankind?
Yeah, it weren't guaranteed, like I told you, mate.
Well, no, but, even if there's a 10% chance, it's worth taking it.
All right, I'll tell you what, tomorrow I'll get your son and I'll say, look, right, there's a 10% chance I can cure coronavirus with this, and I'll take him away. You going to let me do it?
It's a bit different, but...
it ain't!
But yeah, so, and you have that story and that sort of arc into as to why he does that, and it's the same why has she done what she's done, and it's to find that out. So I was quite sort of intrigued and excited to see her side of the story.
But the main thing I was intrigued with was figuring out why she killed Joel. And I had all these like theories in my head. You don't find that out immediately. It kind of via a flashback you find out. But Adkins, was you satisfied with the fact that it was the surgeon that Joel kills to rescue Ellie?
Yeah.
Or was you thinking, they could have done that better, and I've actually got a better theory for that, or happy with it being that?
No,
I was wondering whether they would link it directly to the first game. I thought it might have just been from his Hunter days. He'd just done something, and
that's
it was just a consequence.
I thought it was going to be something more, sort of, I don't know, someone more of importance than just a doctor. Yeah, it did seem a bit thing. But going back to your previous question, I didn't like that switch at first. I really was like, what? Hang on, what? No, not day one again. And it was like, I was of that impression of, I don't give a fuck about it. I don't want to play as this person. I don't care for him. I fucking hate him. Kill her. And I was at the beginning of that. I didn't have any intrigue. I did, and that's where I did feel like the pacing did feel too long. Like I was like, but I do understand it as a double-edged sword that you need that length to. If they did just rush through a couple of cutscenes and backstories and that for you to try and warm, you need to play that sort of 10 to 12 hours of Abby to truly warm to her and get her side of the story. If you were to just rush through it in a couple of scenes, then yeah, you probably would still be at the impression of, no, get me back to Ellie so I can chop her fucking head off.
At what point did it change for you? You stopped resisting?
I think personally it was the when you find out she has a fear of heights and that sort of journey of her and Lev going through.
You don't like heights.
Exactly, I'm fucking petrified of her, so I sort of resonated with that. I was like, cool, she's a human like me. She fucking don't like heights. So, and that's when it sort of brought it down that, all right, I'm starting to see her side. You sort of going through this sort of thing, you see that she has fears. She's not this machine that's fucking just hell-bent on revenge.
Yeah.
She has got a bit of a human side to her. And that's where it started to change for me, and you sort of could understand, even though I was still livid and... You know, as much as like I did warm to her by the end and stuff, and I do quite like her the character, I still was to the very end down for killing her with Ellie. When I thought it would have been a real good thing to have a choice, let the player decide. I think that would be an interesting concept, and just to see the stats of who did and didn't, that would be an interesting thing. But no, yeah, like I say, I was not up for that when it first kicked off, and I realised, because I think it's that zebra scene, isn't it? At the end of that, once you save the zebra, then you realise that he was the doctor. That's when they bring back Marlene.
Yes, yeah.
A couple of little scenes with her, and you're like, oh right. So I was like, okay, so that's the reason why. I was like, okay, yeah, obviously it's her dad. Then there's so many flashbacks to where you're walking up that fucking hallway up to the room.
It's disturbing, though, yeah.
Disturbing, yeah, it really is. But yeah, I've got to say, I thought it might have been something of more importance than just one of the people that he killed. So like, you think, fucking, there could be another game now where fucking someone else is killed.
Yeah, there is that. But then also, like, the whole thing you're doing with Ellie is because someone's been killed. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it is just that, not that circle, that cycle, but that's what's driving it, isn't it? It's vengeance, and really, like, Abby's story, when you pick it up, starts kind of, she's done her vengeance bit. So if you imagine a world where Ellie kills Abby, she's starting from that point onwards. Yeah. And they try, I guess what they're doing is trying to humanise all the people that you've just killed in the game, which I guess is up to you guys to say whether you felt like they achieved that. And then B, also give Abby some sort of arc where you can see her becoming a better person, because without all this context and without this perspective, you would have just assumed she was some jacked up fucking machine that just murders, kills, maims and butchers for a living. If it just cut off at Seattle Day 3, that's what you'd have thought. But because we go back and find out about it, I feel like you find out a lot more about Abby, and you realise that actually, perspective matters a hell of a lot when it comes to things like this, like seeing her perspective of things, why things are happening, then seeing like the people, like the worst bit for me was coming back to the aquarium. It must be day 3 by this point, and it's where you find Owen and Mel dead. I don't care about that. I don't care. I think Owen's great, actually. I think I was sad to once. Obviously, I knew Owen had died, but getting the flashbacks and the context, I was like, oh, actually, Owen was a good guy. But that's besides the point. But the worst thing was then coming in that door and seeing the dog dead, Alice, who, when I was playing as Ellie, was just another one of those dogs that you have to kill. Like, that's the QTE. You have to kill that dog. You jump in, you're like, fucking get off me. You kill it, and you think, fucking little shit, you deserve that. And yet, because I spent 3 days of Abby, and you play fetch with the dog, Lev plays fetch with the dog, Yoa plays fetch with the dog, you do all this stuff with the dog, and they give it a name called Alice, and I didn't put it all together until I walked in that door and saw it dead. I was like, shit, I killed that with Ellie. Yeah. And it shattered me in a way.
It adds so much weight. Yeah, it was, and it is just all about perspective. You never get that in these games. You've never played from the bad guy's side. It's like imagine watching like a Bond film, like fucking the new players, like you watch it from Jaws' perspective, why he wants to kill James Bond.
Good guy, I've heard.
Oh, yeah, well, Jaws.
Yeah, great film.
Anyway.
But did you find that the redemption? So they inserted like a redemption arc where she meets Yara and Lev, who are trying to escape the scars because they've been ostracised because Lev, wants to change gender and be known as a he instead of Lily, and being married off as a wife, all that good stuff. Did you buy into the fact that Abby would attach herself to those kids and that would be like her redemptive arc, or did you find that a bit lightweight? Because I felt like they need to do something with her to make her seem like she's on the right path. But I'm just wondering whether you agreed with that particular story and it had some weight to it.
I did like it, and like you say, they needed to do that. The only thing I didn't like is there's like the scene
transgender thing again. You don't like that, do you?
Scene where Owen and Abby sleep together,
mate.
Then
he's got a knocked up He's got a knocked up girlfriend. Owen's well entitled to that.
Ratting.
They never fell out of love. That was the thing I figured out from their flashbacks. I reckon Owen accidentally knocked Mel up and went bollocks.
fucking hell, I weren't meant to do that.
He went, I've done what Dana and fucking Jesse have done, not been careful about it.
But she sort of woke up in a dream and was like, "Oh, I've got to go and save those 2 children." And I thought, really, would that happen? Would you, she sort of left them high and dry, and then she just slept someone, had a dream, and was like, "Bang, I've got to go and save 2 kids." I thought that was a bit weak sauce.
Have you ever had a cock up your biff?
Not recently, no.
It'll change your mind. That's not experience. It can change perspectives. Yeah, I think that redemption arc could have done with a bit more work. It could have been. I don't know. I know what they were trying to do because it's like wolves v scars. Let's make them friends and eventually go against both of their own, factions.
Yeah.
We get this great scene.
That was quite sort of grounding. That you watch them kill. Like it starts off, and you're killing the scars whilst. Because Lev starts getting pissed off that you're calling them scars, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The scars, and then when you start, that's it. You start taking them out, and then in return, when the wolves start turning up and you start killing them, and then there's like a little conversation between them, and he's saying like, "These are your people," and then I think Abby says, "No, you're my people." What do you mean you're? What do you mean you people?
Yeah.
But through that thing, there was one thing that fucking annoyed me was the amount of grief I went through to get that fucking medipack for Yara.
I thought I was playing Resident Evil in that hospital.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then she goes and fucking blows it.
Yeah.
All that effort for nothing.
Stuffs up her nose.
There was hard work that went into that.
What did you feel like the gameplay differences between Ellie and Abby Biff? Because Abby returns to the shiv mechanic, meaning you've got to craft shivs to take out clickers, and if there's any other enemies you need that for. But the good thing is, if you've got a shiv on you, if a clicker grabs you, you can get them off with it. Like it's not an end game. But the stalkers, god damn it, they were a pain in the fucking back.
Behind?
They were in the first game, but they're not like that.
Oh, were they?
They're not like that.
Oh, well,
Biff will tell you, but I don't. They were in there, like in that sewer bit. There's a tiny bit of them, and there's a bit when the hotel. I think they're sort of, but they're a lot more aggressive. Whereas in this one, I couldn't find the cunts. And
that scene where you're going through and they're sort of hunting you. That was got me that bit.
Let's go on, Biff. Gameplay differences between Ellie and Abby.
Yeah, it's much of a muchness. Do you know what I mean? I didn't think there was the biggest thing was, like you say, the shivs and the thing. Ellie had a knife always, but they both had a shotgun. Both had sort of a ranged weapon. Both had pistols. I know she had the crossbow. Oh, yes. Ellie had the silenced SMG in the end, and she had the flamethrower, which I'm not a big fan of. But yeah, it was more the combat and the melee was more to do with their size, whereas Ellie was just like a very precise stab in the neck.
Yeah. And
she was like, I'm going to fucking pull your neck from your spine, or your head from your spine, sort of thing. But yeah, I preferred playing with Ellie. I preferred her weapon set.
Right.
Preferred her sort of preciseness, personally. And plus, I think it's because you built up a bit of a sort of a relationship with Ellie than you haven't with Abby yet.
Yeah. It's always going to be tough to get over on Ellie, really. One of my favourite bits is the bit where there's a sniper encounter and you're chasing down a sniper and he wipes out Manny, who I was thinking, I don't remember killing Manny.
Did you know that was Tommy from the get-go?
No, I didn't.
I didn't. And I don't think I did even in the fucking cutscene.
Well, Biff didn't either. He called him Troy.
Yeah, it weren't too late, and I thought, oh fuck, that was Tommy.
Yeah.
Because I thought when he went in the water, and I thought he's going to come back later, and I still hadn't clicked by then. But yeah, there's people. I've watched a few playthroughs, and people instantly go, "Oh, this must be Tommy because he's good with a rifle," and I'm like, "Oh yeah," that never clicked when I played it.
Yeah. I mean, go on.
I was going to say that just reminded me of that Sniper Wolf thing. That was very good. There's a lot of callbacks. I think old Druckers said that he's a huge Metal Gear fan, so it was a lot of inspiration.
At least he finished this game. Any other bits you want to pull out of Abby's playthrough, Biff? I mean, you ain't involved with Adkins yet.
Just try to have a little. No, not really. Not that I can think of. No, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Go on then.
Boss battles.
Go on.
You had fucking big slop to start with. He's called the Rat King. I don't know what.
Resi slop.
I remember your first impressions video with Adcock, and I think you mentioned in there saying, "I hope there ain't later." You know, in like Resident Evil, you just get like a big slop that's like. and
there was. There's a fucking stalker that fell off him as well, and I was like, right, this is Resident Evil fucking 8 here.
That's it. As soon as I saw that because I'd already listened to your impressions video, I was like, fucking hell, that's so funny. But I knew because I remember there was something in, I think it was the last gameplay trailer they said there's some new enemy types, and you heard like this massive scream. So I was expecting some absolute monster.
What about the cunts that come out the wall?
Oh yeah, they shit.
They're horrible.
They shit the life out of me.
Yeah.
You don't like flamethrower, Biff, but a lick of flame on them. That'll put the cat amongst the pigeons. That will.
That whole scene, I actually had to turn it off. That got me. That's. I think I was playing about midnight. All the lights were off. I had my headphones on because that fucking PS4 fan was going mental.
Yeah.
And it was that bit leading up to that ambulance thing, and I was shitting myself. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm gonna have to wait until there's daylight.
Yeah.
To turn it off.
The other great thing about Abby's part is when you get on the Scars Island, and at the very end where the wolves have invaded, and there's like a full blown war going off, and there's this great bit where I think you've got to go for like a diner or something, but they're fighting each other.
Yeah.
Did you just try and stay away from it all? Did you
I tried to watch them and let them kill each other off and then pick off the ones at the end.
Beef, what did you do? Did you slaughter them all?
No, I was the same. I watched.
Scared.
There's a couple of scenes in the game as well. I think it's with Ellie where there's humans and infected, and you can sort of throw a brick in there and they fucking hear it and they'll run out. And that's quite good to watch that as well. Yeah,
I wish there was more of that in all honesty, because it felt like they were going to do more of it, but there was probably like a handful, I guess, of that overall, tops. But yeah, I quite enjoyed those bits where you're seeing the enemies just go at it, and you're just like, I can kind of help a little bit, but I'm just going to stay out of the way and go through it.
And I don't want to help.
I know the other boss battle was with that black guy with the
the sickle.
The sickle.
Jesus Christ!
His cheek was hanging off, and that I was like, oh my god!
And then he fucking pulls it at the end. Fuck me. But I think the most uncomfortable boss battle of this game is when you're Abby and you have to fight against Ellie. That was so hard.
I was going to get to that confrontation. Of
course,
but that's I struggled with that gameplay wise. I died loads of times. Ellie fucking shotgunned my face off a few times. I was like, Jesus, that's brutal.
I tell you that, fuck that. I don't know how hard that. I died so many times on that big slop. Because it's literally in the dark, isn't it? And you've just got your flashlight. I couldn't see where the fuck he was coming from.
If he grabs
the second he gets close, that's it. It's game over.
Yeah. But we do eventually cycle back to day 3 and take on Ellie. Biff, did you have any qualms about taking on Ellie? Did you want to do this confrontation? Or was you still like... Even knowing what you knew, that Joel had murdered and killed Abby's dad just to save Ellie, which you has quite made clear that you're ready to sacrifice anyone for that 10% cure. So how did you feel about controlling Abby, hunting down Ellie, and at that point I thought maybe we're going to finish her off for good here.
Yeah, I didn't like it because I thought this could be the end of Ellie, and I didn't want it to
easily been as well. Absolutely. You've wiped the floor with them.
I was a bit uncomfortable because I didn't want it to be the end of Ellie. I was sort of, they can only kill one of those two off. If they'd have killed them both off, I think I would have been upset a bit. But
the franchise is dead.
Yeah, basically, just relying on fucking hobble-legged Tommy to carry it. But yeah, I was a bit uncomfortable because I just prefer Ellie. Do you know what I mean? She's the main one for me. And although I've seen what Abby's been through, I was still dubious as to killing Ellie. I didn't want it to end because I thought that would be the end of Last of Us, basically.
Yeah. What about you, Adkins? I imagine you were still Team Ellie at this point.
I was still Team Ellie. Yeah, I had warmed by that end to Abby. Like I say, through the Lev scenes and that. But yeah, I didn't. Oh, it's horrible. I thought the same, that I was going to have to kill her at that point, and I knew that was coming because I remember when you first go into that theatre and you go back behind the curtains and you play the guitar. I remember walking through that area, and it looks like a fucking area that there was like bits you could crawl.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that, right, so something's going to happen here. I thought that it was going to get overswarmed by a horde or something. But yeah, when we get back there, and yeah, it was just so uncomfortable. I've seen people like watching playthroughs. I've seen people just let go of the controller and let Ellie kill her because it's too uncomfortable. But again, it just adds to that sort of perspective and just the whole anger of it, and you just go through such a range of emotions playing that scene. It just
I mean, in the end, if you play it properly, Abby decks Ellie and shoots Tommy, which I thought he was dead, but if you actually watch the cutscene, it sort of grazes his head, so he doesn't die. He was dead. Yeah, and then it kind of culminates in ending up with Dina. Like, she beats the shit out of Ellie, like beats the fuck out of her, and I was like, "Cool, she really is a step above Ellie here." But
in terms of power and all-out fucking badassery. Yeah, she wipes the floor with both of them.
Talk of fucking.
All three of them, really, included. Well, Jesse's dead by then.
Yeah, he is. There's a great line from Abby where I think it's actually before the confrontation, but she says, "I let you live, and now you fucked it up," or something like that.
Yeah.
And they come out because obviously she's like,
"You wasted it."
Yeah, you've wasted it. That's it. And actually, it looks like Abby's gonna slit Dina's throat, and then Ellie's sort of like, she's pregnant, and then it's actually Lev that talks her down and is like, look, don't do that.
Yeah, she says good, didn't she?
She says good. Yeah,
she does say, Abby says good. Yeah, you're right.
After murdering Mel.
Yeah. Well, Mel was in the way of Owen. I think she should be celebrating that.
I thought fucking Dina was dead anyway. She's got an arrow through the fucking chest, and then she's smacking her head face first in the concrete.
She's carrying a kid as well.
Yeah, 3 times. I thought, she's fucking brown bread already.
But Abby leaves it, and I think she says something along the lines of, like, I better not see you again.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, that's a real statement. And then walks away. And we cut to the farmhouse, which is, we suss out that it's Ellie and Dina living there with Jesse and Dina's kid called JJ, and living a reasonably happy life. At this point, Biff, do you think that's the end of the game? We're just going to get a nice, like, family ending, and it will tie up nicely. We're going to be a little bit sad because Joel's dead and whatnot, but at least Ellie's safe. Or was you thinking, no, there's still more to this?
So I thought it was the end of the game.
Yeah,
I thought
DLC
that Abby was going to come in to the house.
Christ.
There's a thing going on where, if you think about Joel and Sarah dead, Joel and Ellie dead, Abby and her old man dead, and then Ellie had a son, and I was like, it's like a daughter and a mother and son, and it was just, I just thought she's going to come in and it's going to fucking cut, and Abby's going to walk in the house with a gun or something like that. That's how I thought it was going to end. But I did think that was the end of the game, though. Yeah.
When she's sitting on the tractor and looking at the sunset, they could have easily rolled credits.
Yeah.
And I think they lead you into that sort of fucking false sense of security.
Well, you can just sit there with it, can't you?
Yeah,
like, you can move the camera around
until you press a button.
Circle
and she gets off and moves. But yeah, I think a lot of people thought that's the end, and I think they'd like that to think that, and then boom. Yeah,
there's 2 triggers, isn't there? One where you put in the sheep away, and then Ellie has like a PTSD attack about Joel's brutal murder, and so she's clearly not over it. She's struggling with that. And the second catalyst is Tommy wandering back in, or he's not wandering now. He's struggling at this stage after that bullet on the side of the head. He's having a hard time. The poor old boy
broke up with his missus, isn't he?
He's broke up with his missus. Maria's gone. He's having a real horrible time. He's had to travel from Jackson. Yeah, and this was actually one of the. When it was all said and done, I was like, okay, I'm fine with Abby. I'm fine with Ellie. They seem like they've had endings that I can accept. But Tommy, I still feel like he's just now. Even through the first one, he felt balanced. During the interactions you have with this one, he felt balanced. Like, he was always, like, within reason, the voice of reason. Like, I could accept, like, his opinion most of the time. And in most situations, he knew better. I always felt like I trusted him like that. But by this point, he's cut up about everything. he wants Abby dead, and he's like, he says to Ellie, "Did you promise that you would finish this?" Shows like a map in Santa Barbara where they think that Abby is, and I was like, that cut me deepest, because that was like a transformation to the Tommy that I'd kind of grown to like, was seeing him that bitter, because to him everything had gone.
Dead. He's basically dead, isn't he?
Yeah.
His person completely changed. He's not the person you know.
He's become Ellie.
He's consumed by it, isn't he?
Yeah. So that hurt me the most, I think, out of all of it. But what did you think about this little farmhouse scene, Adkins? We sussed that as a fake ending, but we end up on the road back to Santa Barbara eventually.
Yeah, I thought it was quite a nice little thing. It gave you that sort of like respite. There wasn't any time in that, apart from bits of the open worldness. I didn't feel like I didn't have time to breathe, other than the like, even during like the scene with Ellie and Joel going through the museum, I knew that it was going to be fucking something was going to end at the end. I think there was like a ball or something, wasn't there? And you thought that there was going to kick off.
Yeah.
There was no time I felt at ease and I could like just breathe through knowing that nothing kicked off. This was a little bit like, right, so I knew that everything was fenced off. I knew nothing was getting in, and you could just sort of let loose a little bit. But yeah, it did seem like a good way to end it. Then fucking Tommy comes in and spoils the ending.
Yeah.
Back. But I think the way they dealt with like addressing, like mental health problems, like such as PTSD and that. They've done it well again.
Yeah, had they not done that scene where you have that, she has that like daydream / nightmare of Joel, like I'd have had a hard time believing that she would just leave that place. But it was by putting that in, it was clear she's still tortured by it and not over it. So I was like, well, look, as much as it's great to be with you, Dina, you have to go on a little escapade, I'm afraid, to my own being.
Did you notice as well that when Ellie has any flashback of PTSD, she's walking down the stairs and she has to open that door?
Yeah.
And then when Abby has any PTSD and flashbacks, she's walking down the corridor and she has to open that door.
Yeah.
It sort of links the characters together, sort of thing, that they're both struggling with the death of their father, basically.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. There's a lot of subliminal messages there. And in the end, she makes the decision to leave. Dina begs her not to. Got the little kid there, little JJ, but she's going to walk away from it. And then we cut back to Abby, and I was like, oh, fucking hell, what's going on here? What are we doing back with her? And the long and short of it is that Abby finds that there are fireflies that exist. Like, she goes into like an old base of theirs. Go on.
Owen's whole thing
that's his whole thing, yeah. He believes that that's...
fun.
Yeah, and Owen is an underrated character in my eyes.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted to do. That was like his plan, because by the time we kind of bump into him with Abby, he's kind of left the wolves, isn't he? Because he kills that little fella, and is hanging out in the aquarium, building his own little life there, and planning to sort of sail away. But she ended up getting caught by the Rattlers, who we don't get much context for, but...
No, this is one group. It did feel as if they sort of added them in just as a sort of gateway. I felt in the first game, I thought the going through the hospital at the end was the hardest part of the game.
Yeah.
And I felt like this almost mirrored that. It reminded me of that, going through that Rattler base. And I sort of, at the time, I'm thinking, I don't really know anything about these. I think by that time, I just wanted to get through to the end and get to the end of the story by then. So I probably wasn't reading as many of the things. But yeah, you don't really find out much information about the Rattler group. And I was completely baffled by, this is something that we discussed right at the end, but I thought that the people that Abby spoke to on the radio when she got through to the Fireflies, I thought that was the Rattlers,
right,
sort of make it rusing her and believe in her, so she goes to this place, and then they set her up and take her hostage.
Literally, she sets foot out the door and is smashed in. That's it.
Absolutely belted, a pair of them.
Yeah. Then we get to Ellie. She's found the little boat they've been living off, tracks them down to... I don't know, how does she find that she's in the Rattler's place? Oh, yeah, she's bumbling through, going towards the location. Oh. She bumped into the the Rattlers, gets caught in one of their traps, which is where you were saying about her dying, Adkins, about her side getting spiked in.
Oh, that's right, yeah. She gets bit there as well, didn't she? Again.
Yeah, that's
really
clever, that bit, though, isn't it?
that immunity.
That's
oh,
clever.
yeah. Where
I think that's clever because she knows she's immune, and like the guy doesn't, and then she's like, well, I can get bit, and you can't. And does the both of them in. But she teaches those two rattlers a lesson. I feel like the rattlers have a lot more of the story to tell, but they kind of...
I was interested by them because I want to know what their motivation is, like why they capture these people and torture them. Like I've read it's something to do with like they make them do labour and stuff, and if they refuse, when they stick them on the things,
you hear them say about it in the game that they're working the tomato fields and they're just slave labour basically.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think of the rattlers then, Biff?
Yeah,
like you're great guys in your eyes. The
thing is, because they'd blurred the line between what's good and bad. They needed a group of people where you just looked at them and thought, well, they're definitely bad. That there's no way you can sort of make a case for these guys as being the good guys, and they weren't. You know, they were the arseholes. Like Adkins said, he could have
make a good spag on a Sunday.
Great tomato soup, but yeah, it could have done with padding out a little bit. But I have a feeling that there might be some sort of DLC. If they do any DLC, it'll be to do with the Rattlers, to be honest.
I don't think they are, though, are they, Adkins?
No plan so far, although apparently the multiplayer is being worked on so far. But I can see them. I think with the response of the game, I think a DLC could be inbound. Possibly not till PS5 launches and that, maybe next year, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is one.
Yeah. You end up figuring out from... I mean, he seems like he's the leader of the Rattlers, but he clearly isn't because he's just out and about, this like slightly overweight bloke. They look like bikers.
Voiced by Laura Bailey's husband.
Well, there you go.
This is Abby.
There you go. Sort of knowledge drop. Excellent. He gives up where they're held, the hostages, or like they're not even hostages. It feels like they're slaves. Like Biff said, it's like they're working them to the bone and whatnot. And she goes off to finish the job basically. That last section where you're going through like that villa / complex felt very similar to that whole like, you know, Fireflies hospital scene. Yeah. Did you have much trouble with this, Biff, or was you fine with it? And did you let loose the infected that were chained up?
Yeah, I didn't. I actually just killed the infected because they were causing more problems. Because basically, when you release the infected, people are not where they should be. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like, I know where.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They moved it, and then I was like, "This is getting too hard." So I just killed the infected and then dealt with them because they also had a lot of armor on. So
you couldn't headshot them in one. You couldn't crossbow them in one, could you?
You had to shoot their arms off to kill them. I don't know if you've got that at all in the game.
What's that?
Well, you have to shoot. You have to shoot.
Oh
them.
yeah, the dismemberment. Yeah.
Take their arms off and then they'd be on the floor screaming still alive, and it was like fuck. So I had to do that with them. But yeah, I didn't release the infected, but it was quite hard. It felt quite tight in places as well in certain areas of the compound where there wasn't a lot of space to hide.
Yeah, it was a quick close call. I had a couple of bad checkpoints where it put me in some shit positions, and I was a bit like, I wish you'd just put me to the start. Like I was about a quarter of the way through, and then there was someone up my arse, and I was like, this is really difficult to deal with.
If you push start, you can just...
Yeah, I don't like doing that.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't know why. I should have just done that, you're right, but I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But you get down to the basement eventually, work through those bastards, and it turns out that... What do they call that area they put Abby in?
What is it, like the
pillars?
The pillars. She's on the pillars because she tried to escape, basically.
Let them people out, didn't you? They start the revolution.
That's it. They get out and they start running riot. And you're told that she's down at the pillars, and you think, what the fuck are the pillars? And then at this point, Ellie's like half dead, and I was like, Jesus, she's going to bleed out at this rate. You're not going to get to see this.
That's what I thought.
Did anyone else get to the pillars and take ages to find who Abby was?
Yeah.
I went up to another bird who was in a tank top who had long hair, and I was like, why is it not giving me the fucking option? But I didn't realise that they'd cut all her hair off and she'd wasted away so much.
Yeah, it was 4 months, I think, she was with them.
A couple of months, they said at least, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But you let it down. You let it down.
I didn't see that Lev was there.
Yeah, where is he? Is he up on one of the...
I think he's behind you. He's like, so where you're looking at Lev, Abby at the right, I think he's like directly behind her, or like facing her.
Yeah. Get them down both anyway. And then I was like, is she just going to finish them off here, or what's
she's
going
sort of just confused, isn't she? Sort of bumbling about and sort of cuts them down and then follows them back to the boats.
Yeah. At this point, Biff, did you just want to put an axe in the back of Abby's head, or was she a bit like, I don't know, maybe she should let it go?
No, I wasn't. I don't know. I didn't particularly want to go and get Abby in the first place. I thought it should have. It shouldn't have ended. It should have ended where they'd sell it ends. But personally, I didn't want to hurt Abby. I thought she's been through fucking enough. And when I saw her fall off that, I was like, Christ.
Lost all her muscle mass. That's all gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you have a final conflict with her, and the way that Ellie forces the issue is she puts a knife to Lev's throat, who's like half dead. And it's like,
it was that PTSD, wasn't it? She sort of is almost so confused. She doesn't know what to do because she's starting to feel empathy for Abby, and she's letting her go. And then she goes to get back into the boat herself, and then she has that flashback of Joel and that sort of PTSD, and she goes.
When's the flashback of when he interrupts like the conflict that's going on in the barn house, and it makes out that their last ever conversation is her telling her that I don't need you to keep looking after me, and it's like a sour note, and I was like, oh,
that's when she's choking her in the water.
That's what they flash back to the porch bit there.
Yeah,
because at one point I was like, if that's the reason why she's going back to kill him, like because the last thing she ever said to him was stay away from me, all this shit. I was like, Jesus, that is a real sour way to end it. Which they drop in at some point during this period, but yeah, it's only during the last choking bit that you see a little flash of him on the porch, and you're like, what the fuck's that? And then she stops. And I bet at this point, Adkins, you were bathing for blood.
I was, yeah. I've got to say, as much as I did warm to her, once it was that fucking flashback of seeing him dead, and that sort of spiked me, and I was like, no, she did fucking kill Joel. She does deserve to die. So yeah, I was on board when I should have been more conflicted, but I think by that end, I was just such an emotional wreck by the end of feeling all this empathy and revenge as well, that I was just down for killing whoever just to get it out of me, get it out of my system. But yeah, when I knew that fight was coming, I was like, right, this is it. And I like I say, I was going through that the whole time thinking that there was no way back for Ellie. I thought this was the end. Yeah, I thought when that scene where she's sitting there watching the boat drive off, I thought she was just going to like drop down into the water. Die.
I thought that little prick Lev was going to get up and knife her, and I was going to be like, you fucking little cunt.
Oh, imagine that.
I would have been fuming at that, to be honest, if that had happened. But in the end, Ellie sees a little glimpse of Joel and shows, I guess, a form of forgiveness, which, you know, we get to in the final flashback. But when it first happened, I was a bit like, I kind of wanted to finish the job, but upon seeing that final flashback, I was like, right, I see what's going on here.
So and this is a lot of the complaints have been about that. Oh, I've just wasted 25 hours on a revenge story, and I didn't even do anything at the end.
Yeah, but it's not about that.
No, it's not about that at all. And that last cutscene with Joel, that was just so impactful. Just I couldn't imagine recording that. Like you even hear like the croak in Troy Baker's voice and stuff at the end.
What's interesting is that at the very start, where the club is shattering Joel's skull, and we're still reeling from that, the choice of Abby not killing Ellie actually saves her life, because it's just assumed that everything else played out for Abby like it did anyway. Like she ended up going to Santa Barbara, getting captured by the Rattlers. She'd still be up on that fucking cross.
Yeah.
Muscle mass rotting away day by day. So forgiveness is the way forward, Adkins, and you're not a forgiving man.
No, not when there's blood to be had and fucking golf clubs wasted.
No. Biff, we then get the sort of final scenes, which is the flashback of Joel and Ellie on the porch, and Ellie kind of finally saying, I don't forgive you yet, but I can start trying to. And then Ellie strumming the guitar. She's only got 2 fingers because of the fight during with Abby. They've been badly damaged, and I'm assuming she cut them off because they're not disappeared in the cutscenes. How do you think the actual overall game ends with those sort of 2 bombshells? Ellie's now all alone. Abby is free to pursue her Firefly indulgence, and we find out that the day before that Joel was killed, he at least was in the mindset that Ellie was on the path of, redeeming him to a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the way it ended. I thought it was good because it's sort of, Ellie had it all, and the need for revenge. She lost everything. Whereas, and also it made me think, like, what's happened to Abby? Like, I actually care about her story as well now, and little Lev. What are they going to do? What's going to go on with them? So it sort of leaves question marks where there should be question marks, and it shuts the book on where certain things should be shut. I think it's quite well done.
Yeah, I think from the start of this game, like it's bold, it's brave. Most franchise sequels play it safe, and they, in pretty much all aspects, other than perhaps the gameplay, didn't take too many risks there. Didn't undo the book there, but narrative-wise, they definitely kind of tore it up and went, right, we're going to try something completely different. And we've lived through a generation where we get, Gears 4, Gears 5, Halo 4, Halo 5. Get all these sequels that are just the same over and over. We don't see much change. This was not that. This was an attempt to make something different, and it would rile up people, and it has, but ultimately for me, I think it was a worthwhile endeavour. Adkins, any final words on the ending before we get into your odds and sods?
Yeah, I see it quoted, and this is perfect. It fits, it personifies the whole game, and they just called it a miserable masterpiece. I think that does fit so well. It is fucking miserable as hell. You watch Ellie go through this fucking revenge story, fucking toil her up, give her PTSD, fuck her up, and at the end of it, she gets fuck all. She's alone. She loses, her girlfriend, her life. You don't know what she's going to do. Is she heading back to Jackson? It is a fucking misery from start to finish, but there is beauty in there somewhere. And yeah, it's just another ending like the first one that's sort of fucking full of questions and it's just, yeah, I just think it's the way. I think they finished it a great way. And it was just so thought provoking. You sort of still, like, people take different things from it. Whoever you
what
speak,
do you take then? You can't.
I think revenge is bad. That's
So you think revenge and obsession is bad?
That's I think.
So you're a changed man now.
I think it plays well. Like, people compare it to like drug addiction and stuff. Like, it just shows like the obsession with having her obsession or her drug addiction was revenge. That's all she cared about, Ellie. And then by the end of it, she sort of, she came to terms with what she thought what she thought Joel would have wanted for her was to not kill Abby, so she could move on with her life. So it was breaking that cycle of violence. That's all she's really known for her whole life. Her whole life has been violence and despair. And then
she grew up in the whole period.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all she's known. She's not like, even she says that in the first game. Like, I think she comes back across a journal and she's like, "Is this what kids did when?" Like, they argued about boyfriends and girlfriends, so she's known nothing else. And to see her sort of break that cycle right at the end, it was just a impactful scene at the end and the great ending.
So you no longer hold this obsession over hating Manchester United because of this?
No.
Is that what you're telling me? Let it go. It's nothing to do with the Premier League win. It's nothing to do with that. It's
Alec Ferguson is the Abbey. No longer call him the red-nosed plonker ever again.
It's all about perspective. Biff, any final words on the ending before we get to Adkins' odds and sods?
No, just probably one of the best games I've ever played.
Better than the original?
Number one.
Yeah. It's one of the best things. I listened to your podcast the other day, and the last 15 minutes of it about when you said that it's more inclined with television series, that the way it takes things. And this would be up there with something like The Sopranos for me, in the way, in regards to that storytelling. It's just it's right up there, isn't it? Really.
Sorry, did I hear that you think it's better than the original?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Not you. Yeah. This cunt, he's played it 40 times.
Yeah, I would say it's better than the original. Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
I would agree as well, I think. Like the original is really like excellent. Like the story is really good, but it doesn't have the complexities of this.
No, it's more. It's such a simple story. The first game, isn't it? It's just that cure the virus, and it's all about Ellie and Joel's chemistry. Yeah. Whereas this has so many different perspectives and fucking emotions and stories and the timelines. I've seen a lot of people compare the way the timelines go compared to Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that.
Because you've got these four different perspectives and it's cutting back. And there was times I was like, where the fuck am I? How many years ago was this?
Yeah.
But yeah, it did feel. Mate, it's hard because of the type of game it is. You want to get to the end of it and you want to know the story. There's so many times I wanted to breakneck this game just to get the ending, especially Adcock had already finished it. I was like, well, that's lurking. Lord Spoiler could break. So I had that in the back of the mind, but I'm so glad that I did take my time with it and soaked in as much as I could.
Yeah, it's one of those games where I think it is better, but I'd be more inclined to play the first one just because it's more playable as a video game, whereas this, because of its length and because of the rigmarole it puts you through, I'm not sure I'm quite ready. Although a second playthrough on this will be fascinating. Like, I know Biff skipped all the cutscenes when he's been doing it, but to watch, like, knowing what you know and watch how things play out,
you
be
see
really
things
interesting.
Sometimes. You know, like where in the first scene where Lev's not there, I'd be interested to see if you can see sort of like an arrow sticking out of Tommy's leg or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
In the first place.
Something I've noticed second playthrough, sorry, just quickly, is when you pick up the notes, how much reading the notes about the WLF influence your perspective on the Mazelli.
Yes, absolutely.
It backs it up because there's, that's quite interesting.
It's all from people that have been wronged by him, isn't it? And
exactly,
slaughtered pretty much.
Yeah, so it sort of backs up Ellie's thinking. She's like, oh yeah, they are the bad guys. These people are the arseholes.
Yeah, no, the notes are actually really good. Like, there's actually a lot of notes about the WLF and the Scars, and they actually had a brief ceasefire. Like, if you read through those, and again, like we talk about perspective being important.
They talk about making like a truce, didn't they?
Yeah,
that's what they want to do the second time.
Yeah, but they did have a truce or a ceasefire, and it broke because basically there was the Scars thought the Wolves did X, and the Wolves thought they did Y, and there was no like clean communication there. And again, if they had the ability to see from both perspectives, I'm sure they could have come to an agreement. But I felt like that also was quite a little clever sub theme. It's playing to the main game. That if they had the ability to see one another's perspective and communicate efficiently, they wouldn't be at war again. But alas, they were slaughtering. Biff, what's the future of this game, of this franchise? Is there another game that you'd want to see? Is there a spin-off that you'd like to see maybe? Is Ellie's story done? Would Abby return? Why is she immune? Quickly, these are 5 easy points I expect you to get immediately.
I'm not sure if there is another game. I sort of felt that about the second one, though, because I thought, well, they can't top the first one. They obviously have, so that's sort of...
right.
I can't really answer that. I could do, I reckon, a bit of DLC just to brush
What's
over.
Tommy been up to for 3 days? That's the one I'd like to see, but...
Tommy DLC would be good, bit of Rattler DLC would be good. I don't think Ellie's story's done, because I think she is the franchise now. And... yeah, you obviously want to know what happened to Abby as well, don't you?
Yeah. So I feel like the only thing that I have questions about really is this immunity.
Yeah.
And that just hasn't been, that wasn't addressed really once during this. It's not like, obviously it was mentioned in passing, but there's never a point where it's like, why are you immune? How are you immune? Was it something that someone did to you? Is it a gene thing? Like, and I'm not saying that needs to be answered, but that's one way they could go. My worry with doing that is that you make it really messy. Like, the reason why she's immune is shit, and you run the risk of blowing it. But to be honest, they've done 2 games and they've got better and better. So maybe they should be allowed. What about you, Adkins? For
me, I know that the franchise isn't stopped to there. I think we obviously know there's a TV series coming.
Does that just go with what we've seen, or is it an
I don't know. Yeah, I wondered that. Are they just going to make a carbon copy of the first game into a series, or are they going to continue, or will it be a completely separate cast of characters, like just set in that world? What would you prefer? I don't know.
I don't want it to. I don't want it to go ahead of whatever they're doing in the games. I feel like
like The Witcher. I thought that was good because it was just a different story.
Yeah,
it wasn't like Witcher 3, the TV series. It was just the same characters, just in its own story.
Yeah.
So maybe something like that would be good. But then, so they're talking about casting Joel, so it's obviously going to be whilst he's alive.
Yeah, I imagine I would just like to see, I guess, that first game played out over a season with the TV. But yeah, I don't know what happens next. I feel like
we haven't explained like the cutscene, the menu screen at the end.
No, yeah, of course not.
This is something that we've been questioned. Like, it completely went over my head the first time. We see, like, when you first start the game, there's just a picture of a boat.
Where is that boat? Is that the one that's in Seattle?
Yeah,
or is it the boat at the end of the game? I
think it might be the boat at the end of the game where it's all foggy, because when she drives off, it's all foggy, isn't it? But it's just a generic rowing boat or whatever with a motor. And then, once you complete the game, the menu then changes to it washed up onto a sunny beach with a building in the background, and it almost looks identical to the building that you've just entered where the Rattlers' base is.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. It's just thinking, oh, that's the area we're in. But when reading up on it and listening to people that worked on the game, it's actually explained that is the island where the Fireflies are based. It's one of their main bases. It's Catalina Island, I believe.
Yeah.
Somewhere in California. So you're left with the and I can never say this fucking
ambiguity
of that you think that Lev and Abby have made it to Firefly. So in that sense, you think, well, maybe that could be the DLC, is that them meeting up, but that in itself could be a whole another game. That could be maybe a Lost Legacy side type game of just them two.
One of the questions, or one of the things I wonder whether, because of the reaction of, some fans or a subsection of the fans or whatever you want to call them, like how much people have really just hated this game for the various reasons, whether they will be as brave again, like if they were to do a third version of this, or whether they do just walk away from it and go, you know what, I don't even know how. It's not like they've left anything overly open. It's there's no sequel bait there. Like, you could just walk away now and be like, well, that's the story. Like, Ellie walks off on her own, we're presuming. Maybe going to Jackson, some people are saying, but there's some people are saying that actually she's walking out to the woods where she was hunting, whereas Tommy's horse was round the front or something, and he's come from Jackson. So whatever that is, but it makes me wonder whether this will affect any future decisions they make because of some of the negativity that's happened. I
was going to say, well, they're getting absolutely hounded. Like Druckers has said that he's been getting death threats, anti-Semitic fucking tweets at him. Yeah. Like the voice actor that played Abby, she's been getting absolutely hounded for ruining their game. Yeah. And I think, do they want to put themselves through this? Like you said it in an interview.
What was that garbage that was going around the internet that Druckmann had put himself in the sex scenes with Laura Bailey or something?
I can't remember. And then there was like a fake tweet made that Laura Bailey had said that they're saying, "Oh no, I couldn't film these scenes with it had to be Neil. Neil had to do it himself."
God, so mad. None of that happened, but that's just
none of that happened. That's just all fabricated and just trying to add to this fucking cacophony of fucking noise that people were making. Unbelievable. Yeah. But so will they want to put, like, knowing that people will react to it, it will still. But it's quite interesting because, like, the game got review bombed, didn't they, as soon as it came out? So, and it
before anyone could have played through it, reasonably.
People were getting to the Joel thing and then cutting that off, and that was it. They were going, right.
I reckon what happened with people that have read the leaks were doing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Because now the game's been out for, what's it now, 2 weeks? Has it been?
Yeah.
2 weeks today. And if you look at the user score, it's gone from 3.5 and it's now crawled its way up to 5.
Right.
We're now sitting at a 5 out of 10. So the more people that finish it and actually, learn the story and the direction that they're taking it in, and they're learning about the game, the score's going up, and we're weeding out these fucking.
No, it just shows that context is king. Like, you need to have the context to be able to really make a judgment on it. Right, we've teased everyone with Adkins odds and sods. This is like a little, hopefully a quick fire area where you're going to take down or give us some of the more interesting things that most people may have missed during their playthrough. You've mentioned a couple during the podcast, so take it away. What are some of the fascinating facts about The Last of Us Part 2 that we may well have missed on our playthroughs and been like, oh my god, I can't believe they've done that?
Right, so number one, well, I think we haven't really talked about this yet, but I'm just going to say the guitar.
Yeah.
There's this simulator of guitar. They even had a partnership with Taylor Guitars, who are quite a big guitar company. Right. So it's all set with this song. I think there's there's a couple of licensed songs in this game, but Pearl Jam's "Future Days," which Joel sings to Ellie right at the beginning, and that sort of becomes like a sort of focal point between them. The song sort of played. Ellie plays it a few times throughout. It really does sort of that becomes the sort of anthem for this game, as such to say. But you play it. It's like one of the first gameplay segments, isn't it? I think in the game, you playing the guitar, and it's done through the touchpad. Now, if someone told me that I was going to be playing a guitar through that touchpad, I would have told them to fuck right off. And that the Sony have just gone, right, we need something to do like that. We've got to include that because that's what we've got. Stick it on the map is what everyone else says. But no, we get this guitar simulator, and you can even press individual strings.
Yes,
through
you can pluck them, can't you?
Yeah, and now there's like sections in the game where you can just practice and muck around. And there's people on YouTube that are now playing like popular songs, like
covers and
Metallica on this guitar, and it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
People probably don't have it. Obviously, they probably have seen that picked up. Then it's the minor details, things that you wouldn't even know. There's ice that breaks if you go over it like in your horse. The bit with the snow section. There's snow that crack, like this ice that cracks when you walk over it. There's snow that falls off the trees that is just like the most realistic snow I've ever seen in any game.
Yeah.
Then, wow, there's so many little attention to details. The stuff that blows my mind is the NPCs that talk to each other.
Yeah.
That is so good. Like, when you kill a character, you can tell that they're like friends, and you have like a subsection of friends.
That's it, they've all got names. And
that's it. They will shout these names to each other. And like if the dog dies, they'll scream the dog's name.
Yeah.
And the way the dog...
R.I.P. Alice.
Yeah,
Alice. Slag.
What other ones? There's sound as well. Like there's the reverberation of the sound. Like if you shoot in a gun inside a building, you can hear the echo.
Yeah.
So when you're just shooting outside, that's one. Oh mate, there are so many. The one that blew my mind was you can actually feed clickers, like you can feed runners to clickers. I didn't know this. No. You can grab clickers and runners and push them into the clickers when they're attacking, and just use them as bait.
Yeah, they'll take them down. It's so much. I mean, again, it's like one of those games that if you play it, you'll play it, you experience it. The experience is more than enough, but if you dig deeper, the amount of detail in this, it is another Naughty Dog game. But I mean, we could sit here and rattle off for another hour or so. There's tons of stuff we had to sort of skip over in the name of A, our time, and B, just the audience's time. But
Abby's Vertigo, that's one as well.
Abby's Vertigo, if you like look over the edge, the camera like starts motion blurring and vibrating and stuff. And
didn't know that at all.
Tons of stuff, and it's just that overall, I'm really pleased with The Last of Us Part 2. I get why people are annoyed, but I think that You know, you kind of, it does challenge the player in a way that we don't get with sequels, and I'm glad I went through the process, I guess, is the best thing I can say, because you can certainly learn a few things from the game as well, which you can't say when you boot up the next version of COD. But
yeah, I think we was all of that agreement. Like, we all obviously wanted a sequel because we want to go back to these characters, we want to go back to this world because it's such a likable game and franchise. But we didn't think we needed. We were happy with how that first game. If that was just a one hit and done, we didn't care.
No.
And then so going into this, I don't think any of us really were amazed. Like, we all had concerns that this weren't going to live up to it.
Yeah.
Up to the original, and then to go through it and play it, and
it's so different story wise as well.
Right.
Like, it's just so different. They could have played it safe, like you mentioned at the very beginning. They could have just been in this little box where they play it safe, you build on the relationship between Joel and Ellie, blah, blah, blah. No. Kill him, show you why he was killed, show some perspective, try and get some empathy for the killer, change your mind, or at least make you think about changing your mind. And you don't get many games that do that. So I was extremely pleased to go through this. I think it's better than the first. I think it's going to be a long time before this one dissipates from the memory. But we're out of time. Well, we're not out of time, but I'm going to piss myself. So we're going to call it off. Thanks to yourself and Biff, who you may have noticed is not here anymore. He darted off a little bit earlier. Don't know if he needs the toilet or whatever. He gets a bit funny about his toilet breaks. But it's been
he's got diarrhea at the minute.
Yeah, so. he's got the shits. He normally has. But thanks everyone for listening if you've got this far, and obviously thanks for your continued support either by listening or from patreon.com/idle game chat. Adkins, thank you for giving up an evening to do this. I thoroughly enjoyed the chat, and I'll bid you adieu, and we'll speak soon.
Yep. Ta-da.
Nothing else for us to say apart from thanks for your time and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.